All right, we are counting.
This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Pasterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday and welcome to a live edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk from the 111th Grey Cup Festival here in Vancouver, BC. It's going to be a fun one. The Grey Cup buzz is here. Downtown Vancouver is popping. And this family zone is once again packed with a ton of fired up young football fans doing the massive bouncy castle behind us. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, yes, we've heard your request. There may be something going on later on this weekend on our socials with that. Kick and field goals, but the Bomber fans have arrived. Getting down here this morning. Outside, I believe there was one of the pancake breakfasts or something like that. A ton of blue and gold. And listen, just great to see CFL fans representing all the teams here, getting ready to have an awesome weekend, which is, of course, a staple of the Grey Cup. Huge night last night at the CFL Awards for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We'll get to that coming up. Bombers practicing this morning at BC Place in advance of the game. And, of course, we'll have to get to something we haven't done very much this year. Talk about the Jets dropping a game, 15-2 now on the season after losing yesterday in Tampa against a very motivated Lightning squad. Marat Atesh is going to jump on with us a little later on. We've got Farhan Lalji coming up. Glenn Suitor is going to be our guest. And we're also going to talk to Trey Ford as well. See whether he might want to team up with his brother, potentially, in Winnipeg going forward. Trey Ford is going to jump on the show as well. And as I mentioned, we'll dive into a little bit more Jets with Murat later on the program. Just before we bring in Michael Remis, we are broadcasting from the McLaren Custom Grills Radio Row, the only official licensed CFL barbecue grills. To see and purchase the grills, go to McLarenCustomGrills.com. And this week only, you can use the promo code CFL to get 10% off your McLaren Custom Grill. Huge thanks to the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Our friends at Princess Auto, Coolbet Canada, the Winnipeg Jets, Fans First, Rollies Transfer, Manitoba Battery, F Apparel, Canadian Club, Wallace & Wallace, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports. And of course, we will get to a why not question of the day as well for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Michael Remis, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, feeling good. We're at the Grey Cup. I think a bit more buzz here today than yesterday at the Telus Family Zone. We're next to the giant sign and bouncy castle. A lot more kids here today. You're feeling a buzz, seeing a lot of jerseys around, a couple more Bomber fans trickling in. So the weekend just about here. And, the big game Sunday, but there's so much more than just a game at the Grey Cup. And it's pretty cool what they've done at the convention center here with all these activations and activities.
Yeah, no doubt. The line of kids trying to get on this mini zip line here is massive. They've done a great job at actually bringing in youngsters and exposing them to everything going on here. They've all got BC Lions shirts. Sure, the teachers are having their hands full chasing them around this area, but just as far as the Grey Cup Festival goes, they've done an unbelievable job downtown. And we haven't yet been to the team parties. I'm sure we'll take those in tonight and tomorrow and see many Bomber fans that'll be coming out of Bomber House and in and around. But, between just the size and scope of this area, and if you are coming out, especially if you've got kids with you, make a point of coming out here because there really is a lot to do, a lot of fun activities for people to try and get a little taste of football. And you can tell there's a lot of kids, I think, that are getting their first real exposure to an event like this, never mind the 3-down game.
Yeah, it gets me excited for what the Bombers have planned for next year's Grey Cup here in Winnipeg. You know, there's, again, so many activities for kids, field goal kicking, you can throwing. There's the machine that, you know, shoots the ball at you and you catch it and dive. All the fun stuff. And, you know, they have the shop here. I checked out all the Grey Cup merch. I did have my Grey Cup hat in yesterday's show. But again, excited for, you know, this weekend, but also excited for that's coming to Winnipeg next year. I'll be able to take my kids to an event like this. So this is, you know, just great celebration of the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, you know what? Wade Miller and the committee for the Grey Cup next year are here taking in everything that BC is doing. And much like they've tried to do it on the football field, try and maybe one-up their rivals to the west. Listen, we'll hear from Scott Arneil a little bit more from last night's hockey game in a minute. And, of course, the Bombers are preparing to take care of business on Sunday with a singular focus on winning the game, getting that ring, and sort of making up for some lost opportunities in the last two Grey Cups. But last night, Remis, it was a historic night for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Winnipeg's own Brady Oliveira becoming only the 4th Canadian player in CFL history to win the Most Outstanding Player Award, and doing it the same time he got the honor for the Most Outstanding Canadian. You know, really, a historic run for Brady Oliveira. They're here to win a ring. But the fact that Brady was able to pull that double last night, when we look back at this era of Blue Bomber football, this season for Brady, and really the run that he's been on since taking over as the starter for Andrew Harris, has been historic. I don't think there's any other way to put it.
Yeah, incredible that a player from Winnipeg grew up watching the Bombers taking over from another Winnipegger. You think, oh, it's going to be tough to replace Andrew Harris, but Brady Oliveira, I mean, he's been just as good. He, you know, led the league in rushing yards, 1353. You know, maybe the number of rushing touchdowns, not there, but hey, it doesn't matter. He's MOP, MOC, and what an accomplishment it would be, Huss, if you could get the double on Sunday as well. 4th person ever to win MOP and MOC, so history being made, and you know, Bombers looking to rewrite or write more history on Sunday. But congratulations to Brady. What an, you know, incredible start that he's had to his career. Only a couple years in, been to the Grey Cup, you know, every year. It's awesome, and congratulations to him. A great accomplishment, because we thought he was certainly robbed last year, and great to see him, you know, make up for it this year.
The only thing Brady doesn't have is a Grey Cup ring as the starting running back for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and that is the focus of the entire squad, getting those rings on Sunday here at BC Place. And the Bombers still a 9-point favorite in this game. Looking forward to getting Farhan Lalji's thoughts on this coming up a little bit later on today on the program. One other thing, congratulations to Adam Bighill, who won the Tom Pate Award. And listen, I don't think I need to remind anyone about what Adam does in and around the community. I mean, ever since joining the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, he has embraced the city, he and his family, you know, putting down roots here, getting involved in business outside. And I'll be honest, Reem, I really thought that in a lot of ways, when we saw Adam Bighill leave the field earlier this season, unfortunately, that might be the last time we saw Adam Bighill on a CFL field wearing blue and gold. Not so fast. Jeff Hamilton reported yesterday, Adam Bighill, after getting the award, said that he certainly feels he's got more left in the tank. And Adam Bighill planning on coming back and being a Winnipeg Blue Bomber next year for the big season when the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are hosting the Grey Cup at Princess Auto Stadium.
Yeah, I think there's some, you know, motivation to come back with the Grey Cup being here. We've talked so much about Zach Collaros, 1-year deal. I know Rod Peterson, he was asking Jim Barker if he thought Zach would retire, but there's no chance with the Grey Cup next year. And Adam Bighill, he's had an amazing career. 3 Grey Cups, 3 Most Outstanding Defensive Player Awards. He's been All-Star a number of times as well, but this award recognized off-field, which you mentioned. You know, maybe you were a bit surprised thinking, hey, guy 36 coming off an injury last year, where he did play in the Grey Cup but left with an injury and injured this season, a big knee injury. But it sounds like, but he did say he wants to come back. We know this guy, his work ethic. What is it called? Hashtag savage.
Savage, yes.
So he's going to give it all, and I think there's certainly motivation with the Grey Cup being in Winnipeg with the success the team has had to come back. So I wish him all the best, and hopefully he can have a full recovery and make an impact on the roster.
Well, and he has an impact in so many different ways, and I think he's still helping his team win football games right now, despite not being in the lineup. But I would imagine, again, I guess I wouldn't put anything past him. You probably think that next year would be the final year, but don't count Adam Bighill out of anything. And, and maybe it is a more transitional role next year. You've seen guys like Tony Jones step up and play very, very well in his absence, but there's so many different ways Adam Bighill can contribute to this football team and the organization, as he's been doing on and off the field. We saw with the award last night. Interesting to get some clarity that it's all systems go, and Bighill does not want his career to end the way that it potentially could have if he didn't decide to come back next season.
Yeah, no one wants to go out with an injury. Hustler, and he said he's not going to be in uniform on Sunday, but he's doing what he can in meetings to help guys get prepared. A lot of experience, won Grey Cups, working on film as well, reading offenses. So making an impact. If he's not on the field, he's doing stuff off the field and in the locker room as well. So big night for the Bombers, and hope to make it an even bigger one on Sunday here.
Yeah, you know it. Huss and Reem with you on Winnipeg Sports Talk. We are live at the TELUS Grey Cup Festival here in the Vancouver Convention Center. We went out to watch the game last night. I was hoping we'd be talking about 16-1, but sooner or later this team was going to lose a hockey game. Last night was it. Full marks to Tampa Bay. They earned that game, and they were the better team last night, and I think it was almost one of those things where you can't be surprised. The team was due for maybe a less than perfect outfit considering what they've done so far in this incredible start to the season.
Yeah, I think they were in a tough spot here. Tampa had a week off. The Jets beat them the week before. I can't even criticize them. They're 15-2. Maybe spent too much time golfing in Florida or celebrating the win. You're going to lose at some point. Didn't really have, their A game. The power play went 0 for 5. I think they've earned the benefit of the doubt here. Last time they lost to Toronto, they ripped off another long win streak. So they do have 2 big games against Florida, who's a top team in the league. And it just wasn't their night yesterday. It's kind of funny because we're here in Vancouver, and the Canucks just had a dreadful performance last night.
Oh, my God.
I was talking with Sakaris and Price, and the Canucks have had a nice record as well, but this is foreign territory, a loss for the Winnipeg Jets. So I don't know what you could say. They're 15-2.
You know what? They've earned a mulligan, if you will. They had one. Now, I'll say this. I hope that they can flush that one, come back and be much better on Saturday night when they start this home and home against the Florida Panthers. That's a game that, and I still think that's not just another game for a lot of players inside that Winnipeg Jet locker room. There is still some guys on that team that I think get particularly up and try and stick it to their former coach, Paul Maurice, after, the way he left and in the fashion that he did. But make no mistake about it, this is a great test. They are playing against the Stanley Cup champions coming up on Saturday. So it'll be good. We went out last night and hooked up early start, of course, with the game starting at 4 p.m. Went out to a bar called the Red Card. If there are Bomber fans that are coming to Winnipeg or coming to Vancouver for the game, looking for a place to watch on Saturday afternoon, 4 p.m., I think there's a good chance that we'll probably be around there, but definitely a good spot to be able to get the game on with the center ice package. They got it on for us last night, and then, of course, we got into the football and then watched that game. And what was it at one point? The shots were like 28-5 for the Islanders, I think, at one point. It was absolutely insane. They had scored an early goal and then just got stomped for the remainder of the tilt.
Yeah, it wasn't their night, and again, foreign territory. We haven't seen a performance that the Jets have had like Vancouver did. So we're keeping an eye on everything here in Vancouver. I do want to post, as we mentioned, the Jets are in Florida. You know who has a place in Florida? Former Jets head coach Rick Bowness. And here, I'll throw up this photo real quick. He met the team today. Here he is. Shout out to the Jets. They're putting out this great content on social media. They do a great job. And there he is with Scott Arneil. Pretty awesome stuff there. They're saying hi. And there he is talking with Mark Scheifele and Gabriel Velarde. I wonder if there is a Bones boost, because remember, it was Bones who returned last year after an absence in Florida. And I think, didn't Neil Pionk have a great game? It was around this time last year, and they beat Florida. So
it was, well, I always love this stat, and I guess I will mention this going into tomorrow, considering that we'll just be doing Grey Cup stuff over the course of the weekend. But let us not forget that the Winnipeg Jets are 4-0 against Paul Maurice since he bounced from the peg, and they will look to go 5-0. And I hope there is a Bones boost, if you will, Remo. Can't help but get a big smile on your face when you look at some of these pictures of Bones coming back, enjoying retirement, but hooking up with the team that he did so much for. And we'll have to see if we can get him on at some point soon, because he must be incredibly excited and proud seeing what this team has done, building off the culture that he was a central figure in creating, and of course someone that he was very close to in Scott Arneil, sort of guiding the ship right now, even with the loss last night at 15-2 atop the NHL standings.
Yeah, Rick Bowness, he's enjoying retirement, Huss. He's been doing a couple podcasts, been going on TNT as well. But I think for him, he set the foundation for the culture change, for the defensive play, and he was a bit of a mentor to Scott Arneil. So for him to pass the torch and the Jets to be even better this year, I think he's certainly proud and also enjoying some time away from the rink, but also staying close and staying connected. So that was well done for the Jets for keeping us posted on some of the off-ice stuff while they're on the road.
Bones needs a podcast.
He does. I agree.
Bones, he's talking hockey.
He's got a million stories, I'm sure. I'm sure you could tell. He could go on and on and on.
Well, and I think he's still very much all over the league. And he'll have the opportunity, I'm sure, when he's back on TNT to pump the tires of his former club, the Winnipeg Jets. But they're going to look to start a new winning streak tomorrow when they take on the Florida Panthers. Let's hear from head coach Scott Arneil on his thoughts on last night's game. Only the second loss of the season for the Winnipeg Jets. Here's what Coach Arneil had to say about the game overall last night.
They came out hard. We knew they were done, and they had 7 days off. And, hadn't gone well for them. They were going to come after us, and they did. And took us a little bit to get into it, but I thought we got up and running probably the last 7 or 8 minutes of the first. We had some opportunities, we had some chances. They capitalized on theirs. But at the end of the day, it's a desperate team. They were coming out hard at us. We knew they were going to be strong, and we just move on.
You knew that was going to be a hungry team, Reem. A team that remembered what the Jets did to them earlier. Well, not even 2 weeks ago, so it was, I think, somewhat fresh. And then sort of a bizarre scheduling quirk where they've just been sitting around waiting for the Winnipeg Jets for the better part of the last week. Tampa was the better team. One thing that could have made this game a lot more interesting in the third period was the Jets to get a little bit out of their power play. And for the first time in a long time, I think we can say that, the power play was left wanting a little bit more. Now, when you're scoring at 40, 45%, you know that there will be games like this and there will be coming. But some missed opportunities to get right back in that game with the amount of power play opportunities that they had.
Yeah, 0 for 5 seems to be something rare, and I agree they're not going to be a 40% power play all season, but it would certainly be disappointing to have opportunities. It was a one-goal game for a lot of it, and not able to capitalize when your power play has been so good this season. But, even after going 0 for 5 last night, they still have the top power play in the league at 38 Vegas number 2 at 32, and Colorado 31. New Jersey, the only other team above 30%, 30.5. So we figured the number would go down, and that's kind of what regression looks like there, 0 for 5. But, I mean, still missed opportunities. Unfortunate, but 15-2. Still in really good spot.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets in first place and the power play still number 1 in the league despite going 0 for 5. Here's what Arnie had to say about the lack of success with the extra man last night.
Well, they were extremely aggressive. They weren't going to give us time to stand still and make easy plays. They were after us to hurry. You know, we didn't get enough. I think we only had 1 shot in the 4 power plays. You know, so for us, our mindset is always to attack and, you know, create the shot that creates a scramble and other opportunities. But yeah, you know what? It's kind of we'll just like I said, we'll reset that as well. We'll look at some other things and got to get prepared for Florida.
Yeah, because puck management has been such a strength. Just kind of one of those tough things. You know, you have a 4-on-2 and doesn't get wide enough, and then you come back, and just one of those things that happens, I guess, right?
Yeah, that was probably the first 12, 13 minutes of that period. We didn't get through there. They weren't going to give us odd man rushes. This wasn't going to be like maybe the opportunities we got the other night in New York. They were making sure that this wasn't going to be a trading chances off the rush game, and you know, they clogged it up pretty well. And you know, once we realized that they were doing that and recognizing that the puck had to get below the hash marks and get to work, you know, that, and you know, we did that. We, like I said, around the 12, 13 minute mark, we finally got ourselves where we're into our offensive forecheck kind of zone time.
All right, so there's the coach on the power play and a little bit more. I mean, the Tampa was in control, and the minute they scored those 2 quickies to go up 3-0, you knew that it was going to be a long road back. Adam Lowry did score for the Winnipeg Jets, but here's Arneil and just his thoughts on how the game progressed, and in particular the second and the third period.
Well, I mean, they have pushed too, so I mean, it was, you know, there were some penalties in there. You know, I thought that, you know, it's one of those scenarios that I thought there were some really good looks. We had some good opportunities. You know, obviously the Lowry line went out and scored a big goal for us, and you know, but at the end of the day, you know, I think that, you know, they're on a mission. They weren't going to let us get into our game, and that's a good lesson for us. We know that how we have to continue to play. That you know, we know what helps us have success, and just get back to it here another night from now.
All right, there is Scott Arneil. Now, I mean, it is sort of an unfamiliar conversation that we're having. I mean, only after the Leaf game have we been talking about a team that maybe wishes things could have gone a different way. Still 15-2, but now they're looking to bounce back from a loss. Here's what Arnie had to say about the job ahead moving forward into Fort Lauderdale tomorrow night.
We've done a really good job, whether, you know, obviously we've won a lot of games or the Toronto game. We set that behind us. You got to move on. Like I said, the schedule is so crazy and busy that you can't dwell on what's happened in the past. We got to go forward here, and hey, we're seeing the Stanley Cup champions and back to you know, a couple of games in a row here. So we know we have to be at our best.
What impressed you most about Eric?
All right, now one other thing that we should mention. First loss for Eric Comrie of the year. Of course, Hellebuck was in net for the Toronto game. And I'll say this, I think this score could have been a little uglier if Eric Comrie didn't play very well, particularly as the game went on and Tampa continued to create some pretty good chances against the Jets.
Yeah, Eric Comrie did his best to keep it close, but Tampa, you know, put it on the pressure, and, you know, they pulled away in the end. So, you know, we were wondering, when is Eric Comrie going to get into a game? It was against Tampa. You know, look at the Jets schedule. I think the Pittsburgh one coming up would be the one for me.
Pittsburgh, Nashville next week. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I would think Pittsburgh more than Nashville just because it's a divisional game. But
yeah,
certainly the trend has always been to give the backup the second of the back-to-backs. And I believe it goes Pittsburgh, then Nashville. So Helly's back in for these big games against the Panthers coming up tomorrow in Fort Lauderdale. And then back in Winnipeg on Tuesday for the lone home game remaining in the rest of November before the team gets back out on the road. And don't forget, I do believe there's a couple seats left. I know tickets have been going really well for that game, as well as the Winnipeg Sports Talk section. So if you haven't already, get over winnipegjets.com/WST. Grab yourself some tickets and join us for what should be a real fun night also celebrating the 20th anniversary of Canada Life Centre on Tuesday. But back to Comrie, here's what Arneil had to say about his backup goaltender and how he kept the team in the game.
Yeah, that stop at the end of the second period on the power play with no much time left there obviously was huge from the slot. Just gives us a chance to stand, and I thought that we had some really good looks when it was 3-1. Chances to maybe make that 3-2, but at the end of the day, they were the better team, and like I said, we'll just move off of it. And I thought Combs, he's been really good for us, and he's given us a chance every night to stay in hockey games or win games, and can't fault him.
Also, just kind of the reason why it's sort of a little spicy out there with these two teams, even though they only play twice a year.
I have no idea. I'm not on the ice. I mean, that's just two competitive teams.
All right, there's Scott Arneil talking with our pal Kenny, who's on the road with the Winnipeg Free Press on this road trip. One more bit from last night's game. Captain Adam Lowry, who did score the lone goal, he spoke afterwards with his thoughts on what happened last night.
I think they did a good job. Neutral zone defense to transition. I think early on we just tried to make a few too many plays. Just didn't get to our game. Like I think through the neutral zone where sometimes they got good gaps. You got to put it in behind. Try to make that extra play, and they transition and they're dangerous off the rush. So I think there was parts of our game that we liked, and there were certainly times that we were happy with how we were playing, the pressure or the chances we were creating. I think sometimes you just have to be patient when a team's gonna sit back a little and kind of force you. They've got some real good sticks back there and real good gaps. So I think just a little bit of stubbornness on our part, and credit to the Lightning, they played a really good game.
All right, elite stash game from the captain, Adam Lowry. We'll talk more Jets with Marat Atesh coming up a little later on the program. Don't forget, gang, for those of you that want all that you can get from the Grey Cup and the latest on the big game in the CFL this week at Grey Cup Week, new edition of CFL 110 is out right now on the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel and wherever you get your favorite podcast. Just search CFL 110 and subscribe. It, of course, is brought to you by Garage Living Winnipeg. And, hey, the snow is just about here, but there's still time for you to have a clean, organized garage in time for the slow flies, with spots for the bikes, the hockey equipment, the football equipment, and even maybe some tire racks to store those summer tires now that the winter ones are going on. Garage Living can help you with all of that with slat wall, hooks, and baskets to get everything off the floor and completely change your garage. Not to mention incredible polyaspartic floor coatings, made in Canada premium metal cabinetry for a full garage makeover. What you're going to want to do is give our pal Pat Kanuga a call at Garage Living Winnipeg, 204-999-1234. Pat can come down and meet you at your garage for a free in-garage consultation about what is available. And the beauty thing is that you can do as much or as little as you want to fit within your budget. What I'd suggest to do, if you're thinking about this, check out garageliving.com. Amazing examples of what they've done to completely transform their clients' garages. And as I mentioned, give Pat a call, 204-999-1234. Come out, meet you at garage, or you can set up a meeting to come down and get them at their showroom at 981 Main Street. Still time before winter's officially here to get that garage done. Give Pat a call, 204-999-1234. Huge thanks to our friends at Rolly's Transfer, the moving experts in Winnipeg, family owned and operated for over 60 years, and the most trusted name in the moving game in the city. If you have a move coming up, head on over to their website at rollies.com. Top right corner, you'll see request an estimate. First thing you do, WST listeners, is put in WST in the promo code for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then let them know when and where you're planning on moving, what's going to be moved, and the friendly staff at Rollies will get back to you right away with a great quote to give you the white glove treatment on all of your precious belongings on your way to your next location. For your next move, Make it Rollies, the most trusted name in moving and storage in Manitoba for over 60 years. Find out more or request an estimate today at rollies.com. And listen, with all the doom and gloom about winter around the way, you got to be ready for winter before winter gets you. And that, of course, means a trip to Manitoba Battery to have all your ducks in a row. No one wants to be freezing their ass off on the side of the road, changing, getting a boost at 30 below. Manitoba Battery's got you covered. Get on down there. You can get free battery testing. If you do need a new battery, you'll get an extra $10 off minimum off the best prices in Manitoba already. We've got great sales on right now on booster cables, 12-footers, 25-footers, as well as a booster system. And, of course, the best service in town with free delivery anywhere inside the perimeter on any purchase over $60. Get ready for winter before winter gets you at Manitoba Battery. Find out more online at manitobabattery.com. All right, after hosting a wonderful soiree Wednesday night here in downtown Vancouver to kick things off, our guy Farhan Lalji joins us now. What's up, Farhan? How are you?
I'm impressed with you. You actually live read all of these. You're not one of these guys who just records it and pretends he's doing it. If you're a sponsor of this guy's show, he takes care of you. He does it live. His heart is in it. He does it with feeling.
Hey, we got a lot of great supporters that make trips like this and this show happen.
There you go.
Well, we got to take care of them as well.
Yeah.
Much like you and Naylor and the Grey Cup Committee took care of all the media. What a great way to kick off the week. And of course, I just wanted to make a point of saying how awesome it was that we spent some time recognizing Ted, and in Ted Wyman fashion, there's no moment of silence.
No.
It was raising a glass, a great way to start things off after such a sad day in Winnipeg to start off that amazing Saturday of sports.
Yeah, I mean, it was so surreal. I was in Winnipeg for that one, and you could just feel everybody's heart was in a different place, right? I mean, everybody's heart had dropped. Ted was such a good guy, and I didn't get a chance to know him on a day-to-day basis like you guys did, but every time over the years I've seen him at an FRC suite or at a Winnipeg game, and he's just always had that smile, always had that, that passion for life. Never took himself too seriously, but, was a tremendous friend, just kind of always deferred to people around him. Just a good guy. He's going to be sorely missed. And I know for me at a Grey Cup, he was one of the guys I most looked forward to seeing. That wasn't you. I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to seeing Ted Wyman, and to not be able to see him was sad. We were at the FRC suite last night. We talked about him a lot. So a big loss, not just for the folks in Winnipeg, but across the country and across this league.
Well, and he lived for the Canadian Football League and for Grey Cup week. I mean, anyone knows Ted knows that he was a guy that lived life to the fullest, loved to have a great time, and loved connecting with people, as you mentioned. And that really is what the Grey Cup is all about, other than handing out a trophy for the champions of the Canadian Football League. Hey, huge props to the organizing committee so far. Like downtown, since we've been here, it keeps getting bigger and bigger. I was down, it was like 9:30 in the morning. There's bands playing. There's tons of fans from across the country doing the breakfast. And I mean, this area for the kids, I mean, the Lions are making some new fans right here. They've been thousands the last 2 days doing all the cool activities. It seems like they've really nailed this event so far before getting to the big game on Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt. And if you look around here, just a ton of kids, ton of orange T-shirts, and it's a school day, right? So they've organized field trips for all of these kids to come in here, and these are the future fans of the league. And that was kind of the one thing, and Winnipeg's going to go through this in a year when the game is there, but the host committee here has hit it out of the park. And I can take you back to February when I sat in on an event that they had here. All the activations were in place and organized. Everything was done. All the sponsorship, everything was done. It just came down to fine-tuning and marketing, really, for the last 6 months, right? So, you wanted the home team to be in it. That didn't work out. But more importantly, you just want the league to be able to celebrate it properly and to have a good crowd. I was worried on Wednesday night that the crowd wasn't great for the kickoff, and it was raining. right? But certainly as the week is gone, this thing is really, really built, and it's going to be great by Sunday.
Well, and Mother Nature's been smiling on us as well. I was looking at the forecast, and, Vancouver rains a lot. It's been gorgeous the last couple days, and hopefully it can hold off and continue being that way because there is a real buzz downtown as we get closer to the game and more fans come in. Hey, just quickly before we get to the game, the Bombers and the Argos, BC Lions had a great start, really disappointing end. There was so much going on. The quarterbacks, and kept you busy as well, I'm sure, reporting all season long. Sounds like there's going to be some pretty significant changes, not just in BC, obviously Edmonton, but where are things going with the Lions and the aftermath of this season that fell short of what their ultimate goal was to be playing at home on Sunday?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some changes, and we know that the management team, Neil McAvoy and Ryan Rigmaiden, I think they're going to be in place potentially with some tweaks to their roles, but there's going to be some changes in the coaching staff, right? And whether or not that's Rick Campbell, I don't believe that that's been decided yet. Now, do I read the tea leaves and think there's a lean in a certain direction? Sure, I do. But I legitimately believe the people involved when they tell me that they've been really intentional about not making the decision yet. Amar Doman was away for, I think, 11 days before Grey Cup week started. So, you talk to the coach, people don't know. But, again, people are leaning for things to head in a certain direction. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was significant change in and around the coaching staff. And, you mentioned Vernon Adams. I would imagine that within the next couple of weeks after Grey Cup, I think that trade is going to happen. He's probably going to, if I was betting, I would say he winds up in Calgary. But, I think Edmonton and maybe there's a couple of other destinations that I think are a real possibility. But this Lions franchise could look entirely different because I'll tell you one thing with VA. Teammates love this guy. There's guys that are going to follow him. And so it's not just the quarterback. They could be replacing some meaningful pieces.
VA was at the event on Wednesday, and I had never met him before. We've heard so much about how his teammates like him. It took 2 seconds to be around that guy. He has such an aura, the energy that he brings, and it kind of made sense, to be honest, after seeing him and being in his presence, how he was still leading the team and whatnot, even when he wasn't playing. Yeah,
look, and I get why the Lions did what they did, but ultimately they got it wrong, right? And that's a hindsight thing to say. And when coaches get criticized, they always say, "Oh, you guys, it's easy to make the decision now," and that's fair, right? You can get why they did what they did then because 2022 was fresh in everybody's mind, and it didn't turn out that way, but. In that locker room, I think there was a feeling, and certainly from VA, that you should be treating me this year like you treated Nathan in 2022. But to your greater point about the person that VA is, I've been close to this guy for a long time, right? Going back to his first go-around in Montreal, and, I watched him play collegiately, and we've known each other for, but, Nick Arbuckle, great guy.
Tony Fajardo.
There's good people to cover across this league, especially at that position.
Yeah, just on that, I want to just ask you about Nathan Work. I mean, what are the takeaways for him? How is he handling this, and what do you think? What's the path forward for him as the leader of this football team when Vernon Adams gets moved? Yeah,
look, people like Nathan, and I think that he's just got to be himself and not try to fake it and get the play back to where it needs to be, right? Have an off season, decompress. He was physically and emotionally exhausted. That's not an excuse. It's reality. I'm not saying he played well. He played average. In some games great, in some games poorly. But he went through a lot, and I get why he was hungry to come back when he did. But step away from the situation. When the coaching staff gets put into place, come back, begin the process of owning the team, right? Get the guys, rally the troops, work, and be yourself, because he's a good guy. And if you saw what it was like in 2022, forget the football player. Players gravitated to him, and I think they will again.
Hey, speaking of Rourke's that play quarterback, how about the season Curtis is having right now? Is he likely to follow that same path and try and take that run at the NFL, or might we have two Rourke's slinging in the CFL at some point?
Curtis is going to get drafted, right? There's just no way around that, and that was the whole point of going to Indiana. You want to go to the Big Ten, get to one of the power conferences, show you can do it there, and he has shown. He's 5th right now in Heisman Trophy odds.
Wow.
Who would have thought that? He's got his team undefeated. They're going to be playing Ohio State in a couple of weeks. TSN's going to be there, and it's probably the best story of the college football season, right? This team that is a perennial doormat has come out of nowhere, and Curtis Rourke has been in the middle of it. And every day I see a draft projection, he's slowly climbing. It's not going to be a first-round pick, but he could get into the day 2 conversation, you know, more likely high in day 3, but he's going to be in the NFL for a few years. And will a team take him in the CFL draft? Of course they will. Will they take him high? Of course they will. I don't think he goes number 1. And is there a chance he plays in the CFL one day? Maybe, but he'll get a long look, a much longer look than his brother did in the NFL.
Yeah, well, right now it's going to be Big Bro's run with the British Columbia Lions, and we'll be paying attention to what happens with Vernon Adams moving forward. Last night, Brady Oliveira wins the MOC and the most outstanding player. And, you know, the Bombers have had such a great level of success, and he comes in behind or filling in after Andrew Harris, who had an incredible career and being a Winnipeg guy as well. But, man, only the 4th Canadian ever to win the most outstanding player, a hometown kid. I'm not sure that we even in Winnipeg, just with the standard that's been set by the Bombers, really appreciate just how special of a situation this team has, specifically with homegrown players that have been balling out in this league.
Yeah, you know, and you look at it, and Andrew set the table, right? So now when Brady does it, it's not new. But it should be celebrated, right? Because he is a tremendous story. The way he plays the game, it's just so much fun to watch. And, you know, and he's a good guy. And it was a tough season for him, tough start to the season for him, I should say. But he picked it up, winds up leading the league in rushing in back-to-back seasons, 3 straight years over 1,000. And, you know, he's just getting better, right? Like, when you guys saw Andrew, he was in the middle and then pushing towards the end of his career. That's not the case with Brady Oliveira. This guy's got a lot of gas left in the tank, and I think you guys are lucky to be able to watch him. He loves being a Winnipeg guy and you know, and playing for his fans, and that matters, right? Because the fan base in Winnipeg and the crowds and the sellouts, it's such a special time to be a Bomber fan, right?
It is.
And if you're a player and you're a Nick Dembski or a Brady Oliveira or even an Andrew Harris who's not there, like, you really, really appreciate your hometown and just how much the team means to you.
It's special, and it's been a special run. But I think, Farhan, I'm sure you'll agree, there is a lot to be determined on how this run is thought of and looked back on based on what happens on Sunday. I mean, you can be the team that went to 5 straight and won 3 of 5, and I think a lot of people will say that's a dynasty. Or you can end up being the team that was so good, always was getting there, but lost 3 in a row as a pretty big favorite in all 3 games.
For sure. Look, and I don't know that Winnipeg's losing this game. I don't think so. I'm picking them to win, and I think Toronto might have an edge in certain positions. If Chad Kelly played in this game, I might have a different take on this. But, you know, like, I think the Toronto offensive line is outstanding. I think their receiving core is outstanding. But certainly Winnipeg has a bit of an edge at running back, and they've got a significant edge at quarterback. And I think Zach's on a mission, and I have a difficult time seeing him make the mistakes required for them to lose the game. And make no mistake, for them to not win, there's going to have to be some mistakes on the part of Winnipeg, and I just don't think Zach's going to make them.
Well, and certainly they put their best foot forward last Saturday at Princess Auto Stadium. I mean, those games against Saskatchewan were so close all year. And they really took it to them on both sides of the football, with the exception of special teams, which they better clean up if this game is going to be tight on Sunday.
Well, Janarian Grant, right? I mean, he's going to be motivated to stick it to his old team for sure. So that is a tough place to play. They really, really feed off the crowd. When they get some early success and the wave and the momentum just builds behind it, man, that's a tough place to play.
I cannot wait for the game coming up, and I'll tell you what, we're seeing a lot more blue come in right now. The Bomber fans are showing up. But I do think, like, just before we break, Farhan, back to kind of the Grey Cup, Amar Doman, how far has this organization come, and how has that affected and grown their fan base over the last couple of years with the commitment that ownership has put into the BC Lions?
Yeah, I mean, look, the fan base is growing. It's not like, you know, all of a sudden they're averaging 5,000 fans more per game. That hasn't happened. Although I do think the team kind of let them down in that regard. You know, no matter what marketing you do and how good the ownership is, the team has to keep up, and they didn't this year. That hurt them. But, you know, you saw the one game when Winnipeg was there, and it was Rourke's first game back, and then all of a sudden there was a big noticeable bump, but that didn't always carry. So attendance is up. You can see the brand in the marketplace, right? Like, Amar is he's basically taken this football league up in North Vancouver where his team is playing. He's coaching in it. All of them are wearing CFL jerseys. There's more and more of that around the province where they're deeply connected now with the BC Provincial Football Association, and they are getting involved directly. Just like, here's a tiny initiative. They went out last year and they got tents, pop-up tents with BC Lions logos on it for every high school football team in the province, which is really good branding. It's like a simple solution, and they just did it. They're doing that type of thing, grassroots, getting in and just being involved. This organization's always made a lot of community appearances, but there hasn't necessarily been a formulated strategy that takes you from here to here. And now that strategy's there and it's being implemented beyond just appearanrances.
You know, and I do want to mention, there's a lot of incredible women that are working within this league and within this team. Carolyn Cody got an award last night. I had the chance to meet her when she was in with the Lions earlier this summer. I mean, Matt Baker's a good buddy of mine. We all met up at the baseball game, and I spent about 20 minutes just talking to her about her role, and you realize someone like that, how impactful they are in so many different areas of the organization. It seemed like she's got her fingerprints all over this event, but also the moving forward of BC.
Well, she's worked in so many different areas and worked up to the VP role that she currently has. And quite often, certain people that do that maybe aren't ready for the leadership role, or they're not at a point where they can kind of take the next step forward from their original vision. She has grown every step of the way. So watching the work that Carolyn's done has been fabulous. She's a great person to deal with. The organization's lucky to have her, and she's kind of one of these CFL people that, you know, that just loves the organizations that they work for, and I'm sure you've got them in Winnipeg, and they're in the lifeblood and become part of that organization's culture. So at some point, she's probably going to get plucked by some headhunter firm and go do something even bigger and better. But while the Lions have her, they better appreciate her because she does great work.
Those will be big shoes to fill. I mean, it just seems like everything is going in such a good direction for BC right now. And again, it was
we just need Winnipeg to suck for once.
Well, I mean, next year is going to be a huge year because, of course, the Bombers are hosting. But I'm sure BC, Saskatchewan, it seems like the gap's closed somewhat this year. But
whoever gets Vernon next year is going to take a jump.
Oh, yeah.
Like they will. They just will. So it's not going to get any easier to stay at the top.
Farhan, great stuff. Where are you at this weekend? Everywhere.
You know, I'm here. I've got a bunch of stuff to do. Naylor and I have our segments coming up. And then I'm actually going to go to a high school football game in Abbotsford tonight. Watch my old high school that I used to coach. And then my son has a game. So I'm here for Grey Cup Saturday. Then my son has a playoff game in the U.S. where he plays. So I'm going to go down to that game and then come back for a gala tomorrow night, and then of course the big game Sunday. So a lot of driving for me.
Oh, I thought you might be getting the chopper for the weekend with everywhere that you got to be.
No, we saved that for Suitor. yeah. I can't get my name on that list. It's all Suitor all the time.
Farhan, great seeing you. Thanks again for Wednesday, and have a great weekend. We appreciate you.
Have fun. Always a pleasure.
Good stuff. There is the TSN's Farhan Lalji with us live here on Radio Row at the Grey Cup Festival at the Vancouver Convention Center. Speaking of Glenn Suitor, we're going to have Suits come up with us very shortly. Let me thank our friends at Princess Auto. Princess Auto is getting a lot of love in and around the Grey Cup, of course, because Princess Auto Stadium is the standard for fan experience in the Canadian Football League, but Princess Auto is also the standard for getting the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Founded in Winnipeg, headquartered in Winnipeg, proudly Winnipeg, and a huge supporter of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Jets, and of course, Winnipeg Sports Talk. Check them out, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, out in Brandon as well. And you can also shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. Folks, big weekend coming up. The holidays here as well. Get down to your local Manitoba liquor marts in time for the Grey Cup with the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers Canadian Club, and keep your eyes out for the latest edition of the limited invitation series The 18-year-old Canadian club is out right now, $79.99, and just came from winning a gold medal at the World Spirits Competition. These are not going to last long. They're in stores right now, just released at the beginning of the month. So whether you are getting it to celebrate hopefully a Grey Cup championship, entertaining over the holidays, or maybe a perfect gift for the whiskey lover in your family, get them before they're gone. The Canadian Club 18-year-old Invitation Series now available at your local Manitoba liquor marts. Huge shout out to our friends at Wallace & Wallace, the fencing and overhead door specialists in Winnipeg since 1946. Everything you need. If you get needs for a new fence, the security and protection of one, for your home or your business, Wallace & Wallace has you covered with vinyl, ornamental, chain link, welded wire, wood fences. And of course, if you do need a new garage door, talk to our friends at Wallace & Wallace, because they have the biggest selection of overhead garage doors in Winnipeg, something perfect to fit your home and add value to your home as well. Give them a phone call, 204-452-2700. The Wallace & Wallace team will arrange a time to come out and give you a free estimate. You can also check them out at wallacefences.com, wallacedoors.com, or pop down and see them in person at their showroom on Lawson Crescent, just off of Kenaston. And listen, before we just bring in Glenn Suitor, speaking of suits, if you need a new suit, you need to get down to F Apparel, Winnipeg's #1 spot for custom menswear at 190 Smith Street. Custom suits beginning at $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and an incredible selection of menswear accessories. Get on down and see them at 190 Smith Street. You can also check them out online and make an appointment to come in for a fitting at EPH Apparel.com. This is the beautiful part of Radio Row. Just got a chance to sit down with Farhan, and now Glenn Suitor joins us. Suits, it is great to have you on the program. What's going on?
Hey, great to be here, and what a great little segue there. Speaking of suits, if you need one.
It just happened that way.
Yeah, I love it. That was great. Way to work on the fly there. Nice.
Hey, you know what? How great is this? I was just saying to Farhan, yeah. I mean, and we knew that Mardoman and the way the British Columbia Lions operate, that this was going to be a great event, but I got to tell you, I'm just so impressed with the way downtown looks, the amount of people around, and the support that this Grey Cup is getting, which, to be honest, hasn't always been the case in some of the bigger metropolises in Canada when hosting.
There's no question. And you go back 10 years ago, this is really what has been needed for a long time, because when I walked in this convention center and saw hundreds of kids, like literally hundreds of kids, and pretty much every one of them I've seen are smiling and having a blast, and all of them are wearing BC Lions t-shirts. So I know that that's how I fell in love with Canadian football. I mean, when I was a real young kid, lived in Prince George, which is a long drive to get to Vancouver, but my dad would take me to one BC Lions game every year, and we sat in the Nally chip seats at Empire Stadium. And I got a chance from that, because the kids didn't sit with their parents. The parents had real seats. We had the end zone, fun zone seats. And at the end of the game, they'd let us run on the field. And I still have the chin strap of Jim Young, Dirty 30. When I ran out there as a 10-year-old or whatever age I was, and he kneeled down after a win, and they were called the Cardiac Kids back then. And he kneeled down after a win, and he spent, I don't know, maybe 2, maybe 3 minutes. It felt like a lifetime of one of my heroes, and seeing the lights on the field as a 10-year-old. And I fell in love with the game that minute. And then I had my stars that I loved across the league. And then I followed it with different cards. Now it would be online with Twitter and all the other social media avenues, but these kids are that age, and it's kind of like Walt Disney. Walt Disney has never sold me as a parent anything. They get my kid involved, and then my kid comes to me at 10 years old and says, "Dad, I want Buzz Lightyear. How can we go to McDonald's and get Buzz Lightyear, or wherever it is, White Spot, and get Buzz Lightyear?" And that's what these kids, they're at that age, they're having a blast, and I bet you a great percentage of them will want to go to a BC Lions game next year, and that's how you build from the ground up a fan base.
I'm just so impressed. I mean, we got here, and then all of a sudden the doors open, and there were literally a couple thousand kids, every one of them in the BC Lions T-shirts, and I mean, they are everywhere right now, but, you know, it's a much more mixed. We're seeing more Bomber fans come in here as they get here in time for the big game, and it really does feel like a Grey Cup. Hey, speaking of playing hurt, got to give a shout-out to your partner in the booth, my partner on the lock shop, our guy Dustin Nielsen. You want to talk about playing hurt?
Oh, baby.
He's I mean, I saw him the other day. I feel so bad for the guy. We're hoping he comes around a little bit, but if people knew what he was going through and still being able to come through with these awesome calls the last 2 weeks, I am amazed.
Well, you know that he is a rock star, and I you know, he's so good at it, and I just love how much he sincerely loves and respects Canadian football. And, you know, one of the guys I got a chance to work with was Chris Cuthbert, of course, as you know. And Chris, to a lot of guys like Dustin, have always been sort of the GOAT. You know, he's the greatest, one of the greatest all time in Canadian history in the broadcast booth. And what made Chris great? People ask me all the time, what made Chris great? What it was his respect and love for Canadian football. It was real. So when he researched, prepared, and was ready for a broadcast, he was ready to deliver because he knew the game. He had respect for the game, and he knew that the game deserved it. The players on the field deserved that type of approach. And Dusty's the same way. I mean, we have some fun up there, there's no question, and personality is good, but he's the same way. Great respect. His call is awesome. I get to work with two outstanding play-by-play guys. Well, a couple more now, but the two main guys being Rod Smith, who I'll do the Grey Cup with, and Dustin. But we wish him well. And so you know, and the listener knows, before the semifinal, and I'm talking probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes before we kicked off, Dustin was on the second level in Regina in the broadcast booth. There's two levels: the level that we call the game from, the lower level, and then the upper level, which has a lot of the crew and the cameras and stuff. He was sitting up there by himself with his head just looking up to the ceiling, and then he put his head down and he'd be between it, kind of like. And I thought he might not make it. Like my producer and I sort of said, listen, he doesn't look good, man. And this is exactly, I haven't even told Dustin this yet. So, but he said to me, he goes, be ready to do both. And I went, oh my goodness, come on, Dustin. And you know what's remarkable? I went back and watched the game after, and no one could tell. If you didn't know he was sick, you could not tell. Because his call was outstanding. It always is. He's a true pro, and he was almost as bad in the West Final because he's still trying to kick it now. So we wish him the best and hope he gets better.
You guys, I mean, obviously he's a very close, dear friend of mine, and I have so much fun working with him. But I mean, we haven't done a show together in 3 weeks. He's been coming off this, but you guys have a connection and a chemistry that the fans and the viewers, I think, really, really love, because it's obvious you guys are having such a fun time and are into it, and it is somewhat contagious, I think, for TSN viewers when you guys are doing your thing. Quick thought on the scene last Saturday at Princess Auto Stadium. I mean, on the field with what the Bombers did to the Riders, but also you called a lot of games. I don't know if I've ever been in an atmosphere like that for a football game in the 3-down game. It was just special.
One of the loudest I've ever been in. There's no question. In fact, I'm trying to think of comparables. Like, when you think of the 2013 Cup in Regina with Saskatchewan in it, I remember walking out of that stadium thinking that was as loud as I've heard. And I think the Winnipeg West Final beat it. We have these headsets that are supposed to eliminate the sound outside. and allow us to sort of, I like a little bit of crowd in my mix, in my ear, so I can feel, the sort of the momentum of the crowd as they call the game. But at the same time, I had to asked to turn it down a couple of times because it was coming through the headset, and it's as loud as I've heard it. And that was one of the most, there's not many games in the CFL over the last 5 years for me that I have called that I looked at the game and thought, one team doesn't have a chance to win this game. It just didn't look like the Riders had a chance to win that game. And they had a great season. First-year head coach, got a home playoff game, great first foundational step for that team and organization. But I'll tell you what, tip of the hat to the Bomber fans, all the sellouts during the regular season, including a game that wasn't all that important in the standings, if I remember correctly. And that playoff game and home field advantage, it was a big part of their win. But 4 touchdown passes by Zach. The run game got going in the second half. Kenny Lawler's,
wow,
what he did in that West Final, wow, yeah. And so, it was one of those games I thought, I don't care if you put Warren Moon at the top of his game and the Edmonton Eskimos back then on the field against Zach and this team right now, they're not going to win. That team was prepared, it was ready, and it dominated from start to finish.
Glenn Suitor's with us live here on Radio Row from the 111th Grey Cup in Vancouver. Last night, Brady Oliveira won the most outstanding Canadian and became only the 4th Canadian player ever to win the most outstanding player in the Canadian Football League. And in some ways, we were kind of spoiled with what Andrew Harris did coming back here and kind of paving the way for Brady. But, man, you look at his years in the league, the success that the team has had, what he's done individually, now getting these accolades, and being a kid from Winnipeg that grew up playing high school football in Oak Park.
Yeah.
We'll look back at this run of the Bombers, and particularly the start of this Brady's career to this point. It's a very short list of young men that have been able to do what he's done and be a part of this winning culture as well.
Well, it starts, I think, with the culture, yes. It starts with his mentors, and one of them was Andrew Harris, and both Oak Park kids, and,
and Dembski.
Yeah, and Dembski. But, when I think of Brady, and I think of where Canadian talent has come, how far it's come from back in the day, when I was in high school going to SFU and getting ready to make that next step to the college level, I remember thinking, I was a quarterback in high school, and I remember thinking, I'm not going to go to SFU as a quarterback, because if I ever wanted to or hoped to get a chance in the Canadian Football League or the NFL, I would have to play a different position, because there are no Canadian quarterbacks in the CFL since Russ Jackson. So I am glad when Brady, wins the rushing title. When he gets rewarded like this, I think about how many thousands of young kids that are playing flag football now at 8 or 9 or 10 years old, and then are going to make the transition to tackle, and then are going to play high school and college, and all the while with their dream, if it is to play pro football one day, their dream is just, it's almost crystallized with a guy like Brady winning both those awards against a quarterback who threw for 5,000 yards. I mean, it's, and because we're talking highly of one doesn't mean we're talking poorly of the other. I mean, Bo Levi Mitchell, it was a very unique journey and great comeback season for Bo. But I like the Canadian aspect of it. I really do. I think that the Canadian ratio is not to protect Canadians. The Canadian ratio is there to give Canadians an opportunity with a lot of American coaches that if they didn't have it and didn't have to live with the ratio, they would go down to California or Texas and could find, 10 pro-ready linebackers and DBs and things like that, and they'd bring them back, and that's how the rosters would quickly be made up, because there's less sort of learning curve. And Brady needed it. Ray Elgard needed it. some of the greatest Canadians of all time needed it. But we this year had the leading rusher was a Canadian, leading receiver was a Canadian, one of the top rush ends in Matthew Betts is a Canadian. You can go down the list now of skill positions, and I truly believe it won't be long before we have a Canadian quarterback win the MOP and lead a team to a Grey Cup. Because we have two right now that I think have nothing but upside in Nathan Rourke and Trey Ford. So, when you think about the Canadian impact of Brady winning last night, I just hope that all those kids that went online today and saw that he won both awards are saying, why not me? It can be me. I just keep with it, keep working at it, keep my true passion for the game of football, and maybe I get a shot at standing on that stage one day. I think it's outstanding for Canadian kids.
Well, and you know what I mean? This is such a special time in the history of the Winnipeg Football Club with the success they've had on the field. But you talk about those local guys, starting with Harris, now Brady Oliveira, Nick Dembski. I mean, particularly Dembski and Brady. I mean, when Brady's not bulldozing guys, he's out saving dogs.
Yes.
And the amount of community work that those guys do off the field continues to, I think, just cement this magical relationship right now that the Bombers have with their fans that really is, I think, the envy of the rest of the Canadian Football League.
Well, I don't think there's any question. And, I think of also U Sports and how far it's come. And Nick Dembski comes to mind. I mean, Oak Park, yes, but also University of Manitoba Bison. And, by the way, congratulations to Brian Dobie.
Oh, yeah.
And a great career, of 29 or 30 years as the head coach at the University of Manitoba. But, it's funny how sometimes when I talk about the culture that Michael O'Shea, a Canadian, has built in Winnipeg. And it's not O'Shea molding and manufacturing it. It's O'Shea empowering his players to understand it and to take control of it, empower them to be the leaders of it. You build the culture. Only if you build it in the locker room is it going to be real. I can't force it on you. But I can by my actions, and I think this is Michael O'Shea. I can by my actions and everything I do and everything I say, I can set the example for you to understand that the most important reason that we're all here is for each other. The guy beside you in the locker room, that's where it starts. And then when you get out there and you see 35 or 34,000, however many stadium holds, 33,000 fans out there going crazy in this community. You can celebrate that and play hard for them as well. But most importantly, you're playing for your teammate. And if you build that culture or you set it up so that the team builds it, and what was the saying back in the day at the beginning of O'Shea's run? It was fit in or, and I won't say the rest, but it was fit in or get lost, basically. That's a paraphrase.
Lost. Perfect.
Yeah. Fit in or get lost. And you know what? Honestly, that is in a nutshell how he operates. Every time you see him in front of a microphone, he is careful to always put the team first, and he's not having to work at it. It's who he is. So it's real, it's authentic. And to me, when everybody has great talent at this level, and all the teams do, including Calgary, they have great talent, so what's the difference? Why are the Bombers here for a fifth straight time? It's because of that culture. It's because they care and they're playing for each other. And I think the Riders are starting to build that. I said in the game in the semifinal, both O'Shea and Corey Mace speak the same language. And I had to preface it by saying, you may think that every coach would speak the same language. But it's subtly different. Do you truly believe that that's what's most important? That we're playing for the guy beside you in the locker room? Do you truly believe that? Because if you do, in your heart and soul, then it'll come out in everything you do and say. And that's what they have in Winnipeg. That's, to me, one of the main reasons that they're going for 5 in a row. Or they're here for 5 in a row.
Suits, before we let you go, I've got to ask you, what do you make of the matchup and the Bombers' chances of getting back on top and not being a team that might be remembered for losing 3 straight Grey Cups as a favorite?
Well, first of all, that narrative, which I've heard many times today or in the last week, has been, if they lose, that this really taints all that they've accomplished. I don't agree at all with that. I mean, let's look back at the 2 they lost. A blocked field goal. I mean, we don't have a blocked field goal in the regular season in 3 years. And there was 2 blocks in that game, but the blocked field goal was the difference when Toronto won 2 years ago. Last year, it was a last-second throw by Cody Fajardo. Full credit to Montreal that year on that final drive on 3rd and 16 or whatever he had, and he converted. So give them credit, but it was last play of the game. If you could have told me as a kid growing up that, hey, I've got a deal for you. You're going to play on a team that gets to the Grey Cup 5 years in a row. Now, whether you win it or not, we don't know. But that's going to happen. Do you take the deal? Do you like that? I would say I am all in. So to answer your question about the matchup, they can't just show up and think that it'll be like the West Final. There's something they've got to fight psychologically. Even the veteran players. It's not going to be easy. This defense sacked in 2 games in the regular season. Toronto's defense sacked Zach 12 times in 2 games. They can get after it up front. I don't think you can stop Brady Oliveira, but you can contain him to 60, maybe 70, and that would be a success for the defense. And they've got a running game and the best returner in football right now in Janarian Grant, who can change field position not only with his returns but also by his presence. I mean, Janarian Grant just standing there, does Jamison Sheehan kick it away from him? And if he does kick it away from him, is he going to kick it out of bounds and get a penalty, and all of a sudden field position is completely altered? So I think it's going to be closer than people are saying. I think it's going to be a fight for the Bombers. They're favored, though, and they should be.
Glenn, thanks so much for doing this. It should be a great game on Sunday, and looking forward to seeing you and the entire TSN team put on another show, and hopefully the Bombers can put on the show that everyone in Winnipeg wants to see as well.
Well, we always cheer for a real close game right down to the wire, and I don't know. I think we're going to get one. I really do. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing this, Glenn. TSN's Glenn Suitor with us live on Radio Row here at the 111th Grey Cup. Great stuff. We are going to get back to a little bit of Jets talk with Marat Atesh coming up in a little bit. But this is your chance, everybody. By the way, first of all, thank you, T. Will. Thank you, Sam Crow, for those super chats. Really do appreciate that. Good karma, good vibes heading into the weekend. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp, but Waverly and McGillivray? Is your prediction for the Grey Cup? Let us know in the chat. Do the Bombers get it done? Of course, you'll be able to go back. So if you nail it, you give us a score prediction. Let us know what you think about this. I know the vibes are high. The team's feeling good. I think the fan base is feeling good. But this is your chance to call your shot right now. Let us know in the chat for your prediction for the 111th Grey Cup. But while we do that, a big shout out to our friends at Little Brown Jug. Get ready for that party you're having for the Grey Cup. It's a Winnipeg thing. You may as well get Winnipeg's best local beer, Little Brown Jug, 1919, my personal favorite generic lager. Pop by and check them out at the brewery and tap room. You can try them all. And of course, you can also get Little Brown Jug at your local Manitoba liquor marts and beer vendors throughout the province. Boston Pizza has a big party going on at a couple of their locations. Cannot wait to see what our friends have going on at Boston Pizza Polo Park, and they're also doing a big one at BP Kenniston. 2 official Bomber Grey Cup viewing parties. at BP Keniston and Polo Park. You can win Blue Bomber prize packs every quarter. Spin the BP prize wheel and enjoy happy hour, food and drink specials all game long, plus some special guests. And all local BPs will be throwing their own Grey Cup parties with a game on the big screens, the BP prize wheel, beer and happy hour specials all game. Call 204-925-4111 to book your table. And if you are having a house party, get the Boston Pizza Game Day Meal Deal with 2 BP signature pizzas and a triple order of wings. Go to bostonpizza.com to order. And hey, you know what? We had a real fun night last night. Our pal Greg Hasbeek from Royal Sports joined us to watch the Jet game. And man, they've got a lot of cool stuff coming on right now. A bunch of exclusive. They've done a collab with New Era on some very unique new Jets hats. You can check those out on the Instagram or head over there. And the bomber display. Well, Remo, we were there. We were talking about that bomber display that Royal has going into the Grey Cup. If anyone is needing to add to their Blue Bomber collection before Sunday, I suggest they get down at Royal right now.
The one thing I love about Royal, Huss, is that they have these custom hats that you can't get anywhere else. Talking with Greg about he designs them, make sure they're special. So I'm going to have to go and check out this hat wall. And if there is additional merch after the game, the merch that they give out to the winner in the field, that would be a place to go and pick that up.
You know it, yeah. Hopefully we'll be telling you about championship merchandise coming into Royal Sports very soon. But get on down there this weekend for all your Jets, Bomber needs, and the best fan gear around. And, of course, the Hockey Superstore for over 40 years in the game.
Yeah, they got, man, so much stuff there. It's a fantastic store. You can spend a lot of time walk around checking out all the jerseys.
No doubt about it. All right, listen, we're going to get Murat to come on in just a few minutes. But let's get to fan feedback brought to you by our friends at Fans First, the #1 spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the secondary market. We actually just about jumped on some Fans First seats for the Canuck game last night. I'm kind of happy that we didn't because it didn't look like a very good game. We've been spoiled by what the Jets have done so far this year. Even in a loss last night, that was just an ugly performance by the Canucks. But again, need to pick up some last-minute seats. Check out Fans First, and it is the best place to sell your tickets if you do have an extra pair. And, of course, the bottom line is no fees. What you see is what you pay at Fans First. We're getting into the fan feedback, and let's see some predictions here. Tony Pop has the Bombers putting up 67. I'm not sure. Argos 19, Bombers 67. I think I know what you did there, Tony. Brody's got a close one. Yeah.
I didn't get it before.
Brody 24-21 blue. Darth Skaters got Bombers 27-16. Cruisers got Bombers by a couple touchdowns. 27-21. Bombers 15-12 for Derek Schmidt. That would be similar to the games that we've seen earlier on this season. Some great stuff in the chat from everyone. So keep those coming. Fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Connor's going to pop by as well. He's kicking around. He got here last night. Connor's going to jump on. We'll wrap with him as we get ready for marbles. How soon do we think Murat might be coming on here?
Yeah, he messaged me a minute ago, said 90 seconds.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So he's on his way. I am enjoying a lot of the conversations in the chat, and I will say, you guys couldn't see it on the stream, but while you and Glenn Suitor were talking, the Vancouver Bandits mascot from the CEBL, they've got a booth across from us. He came and started doing some camera work, so check out our Instagram story. I did post a picture on our X feed as well. So it seemed like every event that's coming to Vancouver, they had one for the World Cup that's coming. They're promoting here with a booth. So They had the BC Hall of Fame had displays here with some very cool memorabilia. Lots happening here. We got a front row. Everyone wants me to go in the bouncy castle behind us. If you're watching the show, over the shoulder, you can see them slide down. We should have gone when no one was here when I came. There's a huge line of kids.
Yeah, it's mayhem now.
With a huge row. So I'm not waiting in line unless I only go in bouncy castles if my kids go in and I have to accompany them. I don't know. I don't think it's a good look if I'm kidless going on the bouncy castle.
Yeah, just go in, and in the midst of all those 7- and 8-year-olds, just to muscle your way in on this little mini zip line that they've got. This really is phenomenal. I mean, if you are coming out here on the weekend and you have kids, I would highly recommend you come here to the family zone and all the activations they've got here at the convention center. One thing we are going to be doing, Remo, very soon is seeing Bomber fans at some team parties. I know there was some folks asking if there's going to be a bit of a WST meetup here. Certainly, we will be at the Bomber House over the course of the next couple days. And I will throw this out. I certainly will be looking to watch that Jets-Panthers game tomorrow, which is a 4 p.m. start here in Vancouver. Probably get back to the red card. So feel free, join the crew, and hopefully we'll see the Jets start another winning streak.
I was gonna say I thought you were gonna say you were hoping to watch Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul tonight. I know the BC Lions House or Lions Den is showing that, and some bars in the area are showing it.
The Lions Den is?
It's at 5 p.m. here. Now, I don't know if that's...
But that's the card start.
Is that when it starts?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It'll be more
Well, yeah, we'll talk about the line later on.
Yes, we will get to the cool bet lines coming up for that. I'm looking forward to seeing Connor's take on that. Let's talk a little Jets right now. It's been a minute since we've actually had to talk about a loss. But yes, it happened last night. The team is now 15-2. Let's welcome in our pal Marat Atesh from The Athletic. Marat, what's going on? Greetings from Vancouver.
Yeah, hey guys. I'm a little jealous. I saw Remo kick that field goal on your Instagram. I'm seeing the bouncy castle, and I'm just thinking, man, you guys, who has more fun than you guys?
Dude, to just call it a bouncy castle is doing it a great disservice. This, what would you describe things? It's a massive inflatable obstacle course that's got to be 50, 60, 70 yards deep on one side, and then they've got this massive slide as well. Yes, for kids of all ages, Murat, they're pretty much set up here. And I can tell you, I don't know if you can see, but you got a couple thousand kids all in BC Lions t-shirts having the time of their life right now. And as I was saying with Farhan and with Suits, the people in BC have really done an unbelievable job of setting up this event. And it's one of the things that makes the Grey Cup such a cool thing each and every year. Fans coming from around the country to rep their teams, but mostly just take part in the fun that is the Grey Cup.
Beautiful. It's a fortress. It's a palace. It's a it's a foam Death Star. I don't know what it is. That's cool. I'm jealous. I'll admit, Remo, you gotta count your steps. I don't know what a proper kicker would tell you, but a little bit of hope hunt there, eh?
There was. I think the BC Lions president was there watching me. And telling me that it was a toe punt, and I tried it again. No, you're toe punting. I'm like, I don't know how to kick a ball. I've never kicked before. It was there, and I went for it and just posted the worst one on our Instagram. A lot of people DM the LOL, crying, laughing.
I haven't
emoji.
done it yet, but I'm calling my shot. I will make it on my first try. We'll throw that up.
Whoa,
throw it up on later on. I'm a natural. I watch a lot of Pat McAfee YouTube videos, so we'll make
What's
this
the
happen.
line on that? What odds are you giving on this?
I mean, it should be probably about even money, but as I say, I'll bet on myself. I'm ready to go. I've been staring at these uprights for the last 2 days. There's a lot of visualization, Murat, and I'm trying to set myself up to be successful. Maybe not as successful as the Winnipeg Jets have been so far this season, but was a little bit of a reality check for the fans last night, at least after the team shockingly lost a game. It does happen.
It does happen, yeah. I guess no 81-1, and now if they ever lose again, and we'll say, hey, at least we all knew they weren't going 80-2. Is that seriously what we're talking about with these Jets right now? I will say, they looked outplayed from the get last night. Tampa Bay was a step faster. Winnipeg didn't really chain breakout passes together into neutral zone success. Every time that they did make a breakout pass, the guy who received that pass had pressure from maybe one, maybe two Lightning. There was a heck of a tough time getting through the neutral zone. And, you heard them talk after the game about a lack of offensive zone time. And I think it's just because they didn't get there. They really didn't get there with possession a whole lot of times. And we have not seen the Winnipeg Jets look slow. We have not seen them look clearly outplayed like that. It was almost a novelty to see just the degree to which Tampa Bay was the better team. And it was a reality. So now they've got to park that, just like they parked the Toronto Maple Leafs loss a couple of weeks back. And we get to learn all over again what happens with this particular Jets team when they do come off of a bad night.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've seen it only once so far this season, which is somewhat hilarious in that, it was the Toronto Maple Leaf game. And certainly if we can base anything on how they bounced back after their previous loss this season, running the table for another couple weeks, I think people definitely give them the benefit of the doubt and be looking forward to a pretty big heavyweight tilt tomorrow against their old pal Paul Maurice and the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, they've had some big games against the Panthers in the last couple of years, and Mark Scheifele's had a couple of really special moments against Florida. There's been some real competitive action there. It's also cool to watch because, last year when it was a battle for the Jennings Trophy, it was Florida who Winnipeg was close to. And when Winnipeg talks about how important it was to get their defense right over the last few years, well, they cite Florida as an example. Like a couple of years ago, they didn't have the defensive chops. They worked on it. They're Stanley Cup champions. So it really is, if anybody else in this league right now is a measuring stick game for the Winnipeg Jets, the Florida Panthers are that. And so coming out off of that loss to Tampa, going against Paul Maurice, it's their first game after. He talked about, hey, I wish Winnipeg would win the next cup. There are some pretty intense storylines for it.
Well, for sure. And listen, I am not sure that, or actually, I think I am kind of sure that there's still guys in that locker room that look forward to trying to stick it to their former coach when they get an opportunity to play it. And to their credit, they've done it every time they played Maurice since he dipped 4-0 against the Panthers since Maurice took over.
That's incredible. That's like the Toronto has beaten Winnipeg every time since the video of nothing's better than beating the Leafs. It's the opposite of that. Winnipeg has beat Florida every time. I actually hadn't realized that, Huss, that it's like that the Jets are undefeated against Paul Maurice in the Paul Maurice era.
Trust me, that's one that I've looked up myself just because I probably, like some of the players, have been particularly incentivized to hope that the Jets get the win when they are playing Florida. So, it's 4-0 so far. But, man, what a home and home we've got right now. Defending Stanley Cup champions, regardless of the storylines with Maurice's history with this club. This is going to be a hell of a test for Winnipeg to show. And we've said this before. The Ranger game, all the games at home last week in the division. But this is another one of them. And I think we'd be naive not to say that the Florida Panthers right now are the standard in the National Hockey League after winning the Cup last year. And they do it with a mix of speed, skill, but also a lot of nasty, Murat.
Yeah, and that's what makes them such a compelling team for the Jets to play against. It is exactly that blend because they can play hockey any way that you want it. They have elite offensive firepower. They have the 200-foot play of Alexander Barkov. They have the world's premier elite player who's also a premier pain in the ass, and Matthew Tkachuk, right? They've got great goaltending. They have players up and down the lineup that play a pain in the butt game to play against. And I mean, that's what it takes, I think, to go 4 rounds deep like the Panthers did and to win. That's a heck of a roster that they've got there. And you can tell that the Jets take them seriously, too. I was thinking about the Eric Comrie start yesterday and what that gives Winnipeg the green light to do with a couple days between these games in the home and home is go Connor Hellebuck in back-to-back games against Florida. And I think that's a sign of respect for the defending Cup champions, that there's no stone unturned. Winnipeg's not going to play anything but what it views as its best lineup, and Connor Hellebuck in back-to-back games is that.
You know, I mean, we kind of talked about the last night's game already. I mean, we said they've earned a mulligan, so it's on to Florida. I did want to ask you, though, about the game earlier this week at MSG. I mean, how good a game was that? And holy smokes, did some of the Jets, and particularly that top line, raise their level of play. And I think it was a kind of a good example of how that line, for the most part, completely has turned things around numbers-wise and narrative-wise since the team was winning, but it was sort of despite what was happening when that line was on the ice in the first kind of 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, it vindicates Scott Arneil's patience, doesn't it? Like, we saw the baby version of that with the Ehlers, Perfetti, and Mesnikov line where they struggled for a few games. Arneil said, hey, no, we're waiting this out, and then looked at the offense they've had. But that top line was a bigger concern given the minutes that it plays and the track record it had last season. And it's a bigger payoff too. I think this is a Connor Rabchak tweet that I think that I'm regurgitating. But is that line 9-1 and 5-on-5 goals in their last in that last few games? Or several games. That's an incredible turnaround. That's an incredible performance, and that doesn't even touch the power play where they've also been productive, including that Gabriel Velarde goal that I think is a highlight of the year candidate. The moment that puck is in the air from Neil Pionk, I think Gabriel Velarde's backhand touch, he's guiding that puck to a spot where his forehand is moving, like he's guiding that puck down onto the ice to a place he can stick handle from. And that is just an elite play. Then you add the Ehlers pass and the Velarde finish. Everything about that is absolute on-ice genius, I think. That's one of my favorite plays, if not my favorite play of the entire season so far for the Winnipeg Jets.
Marat Atesh of The Athletic with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. We're getting ready for the Bombers and Argos in the 111th Grey Cup here at BC Place on Sunday. But tomorrow, starting off a home-and-home with the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers next up for the Winnipeg Jets. Murat, we spent a lot of time talking about some of the guys that have really stepped up this year. I mean, the Lowry line's been unbelievable. Obviously, the top line we were just mentioning. I mean, Ehlers, Perfetti. Everyone has had a piece of this start. It really, to kind of quote Scott Arneil, it has been team performance and different guys stepping up at different moments. I did want to single out the fourth line, though, Murat. I mean, just your thoughts on the depth that this team has right now and the way the fourth line has been playing as of late. It looked like the Lowry line against the New York Rangers earlier this week.
Yeah, you can count on them to make the right forechecking lines. You can count on them to have that little bit of dog, like to like really compete for pucks. You can count on them, and it's a case where I'm going to say at least two of those three players and should be playing higher up the lineup, or on other teams they would be playing higher up the lineup. Like Alex Iafallo is a middle six forward coming off of the Los Angeles Kings prior to Winnipeg. He was the guy that when Los Angeles wanted a boost on any given one of their lines, they put him there for instant chemistry because his defensive stick is excellent. He knocks pucks down. His forechecking is excellent. His reads are good. His offensive ability is there. Bit of a streaky scorer to be sure, but the ability is still there. And he's made some great plays this year. Morgan Barron wouldn't be buried on the fourth line of most teams of the National Hockey League. And we're witnessing a little bit of a step forward season from Rasmus Kupari as well, where he's sort of combining his speed with just like a development in the way he processes the game as well, where he can be a threat. And I think that, like, probably if you ask the Winnipeg Jets what their bright spots and what their stories that they'd like to celebrate this year, I think they'd want to put the focus on the fourth line too, because that's a weapon for them.
What have your conversations been like with your athletic colleagues from around the league? What are people either saying, or what are they asking you about the Winnipeg Jets after this hot start?
Yeah, it's fun. I take, like, I'll never dunk on a colleague, right? You don't see me going to Twitter and being like, hey, they said the Jets were this and whatever and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't do that. But I do take a great degree of amusement in seeing how the perception of small-town Winnipeg is across the NHL. I think I might have been one of the only writers to pick a playoff spot in our preseason, like in our August polling. There are only a few of us that did, and I thought that should have been an obvious one. But now, you see the leg, and now they've been at the top of the Athletics power rankings for the last couple of weeks, and I think that speaks to a league-wide recognition of the Jets. And it's funny because people outside of Winnipeg don't exactly know how to process it. There's a bit of a temptation to say it's Hellebuck, and you want to acknowledge that, and you want to validate that because Hellebuck is having another elite season and does make a good team great. But I think that there are so many wrinkles to the Winnipeg Jets' success, and Scott Arneil's talked about it, how it takes a little bit of everything. Everybody's got a piece of it. The power play's got a piece of it. The defense has a piece of it. That one of the fun things for me is to watch people sort of like sweep it under the Hellebuck rug when really it's been an all-around effort from top to bottom of the lineup.
You know what really has, and I mean, it just makes it's a little bizarre how many people wrote this team off before the season even started, to be honest. They're not even being a playoff team, considering where they were last year, over 82 games. But it just shows that recency bias is real. It is a what have you done for me lately league, and when the last thing people remember is 4 convincing victories for the Colorado Avalanche, they sort of moved on to the next one. But I think a lot of people just forgot about what this team can do when they're playing the way that they can.
Yeah, and they overstated the losses of the UFAs, right? Like, Sean Monahan was a quarter-season Winnipeg Jet, maybe slightly more than that. Tyler Toffoli was barely a Winnipeg Jet. If you look at Winnipeg's success last season, an awful lot of it happened with their lineup that people were upset that they were running it back with. And I want to acknowledge Brendan Dillon and Nate Schmidt, our losses as well. But now you get to see the step forward season of a Dylan Sandberg into a prime role. And he's a player who I think we all sort of saw it coming that he'd be able to do it. So, the complaints of run it back, the loss to Colorado, yes, it was dominant. Yes, it pointed to gaps between Winnipeg and playoff excellence. Those are lessons that need to be learned. And I think even now you see Winnipeg, the Jets themselves, they're not getting too high about this start. And I think it's because they know that, well, this isn't what matters quite so much. They got to get there, but it's what happens when they get there. So those are important lessons to learn. But I think that people overstated the fall and underrated the quality of the Jets season over those 82 games. Even if there was going to be a decline with the new head coach or with some of the roster turnover or with some of the growing pains, all they needed was pretty good special teams. And look at that power play and what it can do and how it can save wins if there's ever a moment that things aren't going well elsewhere.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned the power play because, of course, 0 for 5 last night. We heard Arnie talk about it. I mean, in other situations this season, the power play has sort of bailed them out or got them back into games. And, credit to the Lightning for killing it right now, but they'll certainly be looking to step that up over the course of these next 2 games against the Panthers. What intrigues you about the Panthers and the challenge that they bring to the Jets? And kind of what do you be looking for when the puck drops tomorrow night to see when the Jets measure up against the number 1 team in the league?
Yeah, they're, on paper and especially in the playoffs, the type of team that Winnipeg's not supposed to be able to be, which is funny because of that record that you pointed to where they're 4-0 against the Panthers in recent years. But because they don't cheat a back check, because they track back so hard, because there's so much physicality to their pressure, that's the sort of game that a Nikolai Ehlers or a Kyle Connor isn't supposed to be able to stand out in. So I'm really intrigued about just the tenacity that it takes to play the Florida Panthers and come away with the win. Even coming out of last night, and I'll get back to Florida right away, but one of the things I was impressed by, even in a game where Tampa Bay was the better team, and by not a small amount, you saw tenacity and you saw pushback. And I look to a guy like Kyle Connor, who has elevated his it's not effort level, but his commitment to certain details defensively, certain details in terms of puck management this year. There's, I think, a higher standard for what constitutes a hard play or a hard shift coming from Kyle Connor right now. And so then I take that forward. I'm like, in that third period where he's incredible shorthanded goal attempt, it doesn't work out for him, but a lot of other good plays as well. Now you take that attitude and you take it out there against the Florida Panthers with the whole team knowing it needs to be better. And I'm wondering, like, can those elite skilled players like the Connors, like the Ehlers, Mark Scheifele, Gabriel Velarde, Cole Perfetti, who aren't supposed to be those bulldogs or trucks of players, can they get to the middle of the ice? Can they fight off checks? And can they show that offensive greatness that we've seen them be capable of? That's the battle I want to see. And I'm actually fascinated to see, because I hold these Jets in higher esteem than last year's version.
Hey, one other thing I wanted to ask you just about your conversations, with folks around the league. Of course, we're going to be talking a lot of Four Nations over these next few weeks. What are you hearing from your contemporaries about the Jets' potential participation in the event? And where are you at right now, particularly on the Canadian contingent? Morrissey, Scheifele, and even Adam Lowry, who's had his name mentioned.
Yeah, I think the obvious ones, Connor Hellebuck and Kyle Connor for the Americans. I think everybody agrees there.
Book it.
Team Canada-wise, I'm going to say 90% of people I talk to say Josh Morrissey's a lock for that team. I think that that's a fair assessment. I think that's a fair read. Canada maybe errs a little bit towards that type of defenseman that Josh is, in terms of his pace, his agility, his puck skill, all of that sort of stuff. But I don't think you can hold that against him, because he's such a high-quality version of that player that, like, even if there's redundancy on that roster with Cale Makar, who's even in a more advanced version or what have you, I don't think you can keep Josh Morrissey off of that team. Up front, this is where it gets interesting. I have some people who will sort of, I want to say, galaxy brain or overthink it, and I do it sometimes too, where it's like, does Adam Lowry actually have a better chance to make the team than Mark Scheifele does, just in case they want a role player? I don't think so, but I don't think that that's beyond the realm of possibility too. He is of quality, and somebody needs to kill penalties and take those face-offs. I think that the Team Canada is so loaded with great forwards, centers who will be playing wing. They're going to be so deep, they don't need that type of role player. And I also think that they're so loaded with 200-foot versions of Mark Scheifele types that, like, he's in a mix. He'd easily be a long lister, somebody to consider for the team. But I'm not getting a lot when I look at those rosters that various writers at The Athletic have put together. I don't think I've seen Mark Scheifele or Adam Lowry, come to think of it, on one of those final versions of a team. I also think that's fair. I think Josh Morrissey's got the lead on them in that battle for a roster spot on Team Canada by some distance.
I'll say this about Scheif. And I was sort of the opinion that he was sort of on the outside looking in as we went into this season. The best thing that he can do for his cause is to keep on winning, have the Jets at the top of the standings, getting the attention that they very much deserve right now, and continue playing the way that he's playing right now. It does kind of seem that not only are you doing it, or these guys doing it for their teams, but I know that Mark Scheifele knows that these games are important moving forward. And I mean, for instance, these next two games against Florida, another huge opportunity for 55 to sort of make his case to the hockey world that he should be wearing red and white come February.
Yeah, and I think that if you, just going by disposition, right? I'm not in Mark Scheifele's brain. He hasn't told me this. But if you try to assess a player who has maybe the most to gain by a Team Canada type appointment, I think the way he's described his own level of play over the years, all the way back to I'm pushing him to be better than Sid, better, like all of that stuff, there is a class of player in this league and in the world that he holds as a goal for himself and as a tier that he wants to belong to. And I think in terms of how he sees himself and maybe the lessons he could take from a Team Canada type Four Nations experience and the standards of play and all of that sort of stuff from playing with an all-star team of 200-foot players, bringing that back to Winnipeg for the stretch run in the playoffs. I mean, I think that there's a lot of payoff available to a player like Mark Scheifele there. he's like, who loves hockey more than him? Who's a more passionate nerd about hockey than him? The joy, the satisfaction, the esteem, all that sort of stuff that could come from that, I think would be a really meaningful thing for him as a person. And then the Jets, by extension, when he takes those lessons home.
Murat, great stuff as always. I see the latest fan survey is out, talking about what fans are thinking about their record-setting start. I imagine you're getting the same sort of excitement from fans in the mailbag that we're seeing in the chat every day here on WST.
100%. I think I barely tweeted about it, and there were already 500 responses to the thing. Jets fans are fired up, and I want to know where they think this is all going. I want to know a Jets fan's dream trade deadline, all those sort of questions. If you haven't filled it out already, or you probably have based on the numbers I've seen, do it. Head to theathletic.com and find that survey. Can't wait to write that one up.
Murat, have a great weekend. Enjoy the game tomorrow in the Grey Cup on Sunday, and we'll look forward to seeing you back in the Peg at the rink on Tuesday.
You too. Have the most fun, guys.
Thanks so much. There's Marat Atesh. The call is out to Winnipeg Jet fans in the Athletic. What do you make of the team's record-setting start? Athletic.com. Let Murat know your thoughts, and always love to see. Listen, the fan feedback, whether we're doing it here for Fans First on WST, or it's in the Athletic, when things are going the way they are for the Jets, despite one loss last night. We're in a good spot, and I think we're hearing it loud and clear from Winnipeg Jet fans. All right, very special guest joining us now as we continue our program. We've got marbles coming up. We have the three-man weave here, Reem.
Let me adjust the camera real quick.
Sure.
And we can all squeeze in. I don't know if I want to be in the middle. Maybe Connor wants to go in the middle.
Sure. Well, you go out.
Okay, do
let
that
me just
because
get
you
out.
got the computer on the other side.
Sure.
See, this is what we're going to do.
We're live. It's a live show.
Look who's here.
Look who's here.
The Wonder Boy himself,
How's
Connor
it going?
Radchak. Welcome
How's
to your
it going?
first Grey Cup on the road. How's it going?
This is insane, man. I mean, they can't all be like this, can they? This is a big production. There are so many people here. And my biggest thing, there's so many Calgary fans, Edmonton fans, and Hamilton. These teams were never destined to be in the Grey Cup, but these fans are just here taking it all in. This is insane.
Of course, we've got Rider fans here. It's not a Grey Cup without the green, but I mean that is really what the Grey Cup is all about. I mean they called it the biggest party of the year every year for now 111, which is incredible. But the BC folks have done a hell of a job in setting this thing up and exposing the game to so many young kids. You see them running around in these BC Lions hats or T-shirts, and then the zip line, getting them to try football. I mean, I'm just so impressed with what they've done. But I know one thing: Wade Miller is going to want to top it next year. So it does get, I think, people here from the Winnipeg side of things pretty excited about what is to come. So you made it in last night. I mean, how are you feeling about the game on Sunday? I know you're a big Bomber guy like I am. This is, I mean, I know we've kind of talked about this potential narrative around. No matter what, you win 2 championships and you go to 5 straight. I mean, it's special. But I really do think they need to win this so we can confidently call this a dynasty. And the other side of things, if they don't get it done and lose 3 straight Grey Cups as a favorite, sometimes a heavy favorite like they are this Sunday, at least to some, not all. Glenn Suitor made a great point earlier on, but it might take a little bit of the luster off this incredible run of Blue Bomber football history.
Absolutely. And, going to 5 straight Grey Cups, I think, makes you a dynasty in itself. Like Glenn Suitor made the point, if you would have told any player that they'd go to 5 straight Grey Cups, they'd say, sign me up immediately, right? And you take into account, I don't know, we'll get into the cool bet lines. I don't know if it's moved at all, but last I checked, the Bombers are a 9-point favorite in this game. This is one that you got to win for the 3rd Grey Cup out of these 5 years. And really, I personally think it comes down to the Bombers' offensive line and Janarian Grant. If the Bombers' offensive line can play the way they did last weekend against Saskatchewan, which was probably their best game of the year, 0 sacks on Zach Collaros, against Toronto's D-line. It doesn't have to be that good of a performance, but something in that range, I think they'll fare well. And then containing Janneri and Grant. We know special teams has burned the Bombers a few times, but again, it's the crazy football league. How often have you and Jeff Hamilton said that on CFL 110, right? Like a 9-point spread in a championship game, I personally think is ridiculous. But hey, 9.5 now as we see. But there's a reason the Bombers are favored. Nick Arbuckle apparently slated to get the start. But if you believe in the Bombers' offensive line and their special teams, I think they should win this game.
Yeah, listen, I think you're bang on. I mean, the Argos terrorized Zach Collaros in their 2 games this year. I mean, 5 sacks and then 7 sacks. And that was a huge reason why the Bombers lost a couple of close games. And you mentioned Janneri and Grant. I mean, I think the Bombers have done a good job at focusing in on star returners, although he's kind of in another level.
Yeah.
And taking care of business on that. But overall, coming out of last week's game against Saskatchewan, I mean, the Bombers kicked their ass on both sides of the line of scrimmage. The offense dominated. The defense dominated. The special teams were pretty sketchy.
Yep.
I mean, they gave up a fake punt first down. They had a punt blocked themselves, and, of course, then fumbled a return. All of those things they really need to clean up, because those are sort of the mistakes that can flip a game and allow a team like Toronto that maybe on paper doesn't match up to Winnipeg a path to victory.
Yeah, it keeps them in it, right? And it gives them that opportunity to block a field goal late and win the game like they did 2 years ago, right? Like something crazy can happen if you have those like kind of self-inflicted mistakes. And I know people all week and on CFL 110 have been saying that, you know, Mike O'Shea, special teams coordinator in the past, I think he'll have that group ready to go and clean up those mistakes, and I believe that. But yeah, it's the biggest storyline, I think, is the special teams, and that's the way Toronto is going to maybe get the edge over Winnipeg. They definitely have the edge on paper when it comes to those 2 units, but how can Winnipeg mitigate that and lean on their run game and Zach Collaros and Kenny Lawler and their stars?
Yeah, the Bombers practiced this morning, kind of as we were getting here and getting going. We're going to go to practice tomorrow, hook up with the squad the day before the game, and we'll put something together. Dave Naylor's going to join us for a little Grey Cup Saturday conversation. I had a great conversation with Trey Ford that I think people are going to really enjoy, and we'll have some more from the Bombers tomorrow. So turn your notifications on, everybody, on the YouTube. Of course, we'll throw it up on the podcast, but we'll also have more on the weekend from Grey Cup, and then hopefully a very, very fun show on Monday talking about another Grey Cup championship for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. All right, Marbles is open, by the way. If you've kind of been listening and not paying attention, get it in there right now. Exclamation mark Marbles. We get a chance to see Remis do his thing. The maestro of Marbles, taking the show on the road.
It's incredible.
And yet still being able to pull it off. But let's get over to the Cool Bet lines. We're talking Grey Cup. And actually, you know, this is perfect that we've got you here, Connor, because I wanted a Jonas Brothers expert to be able to fill me in on these odds. We'll get to the important odds in a minute, but
these are the important odds.
First song and last song by the Jonas Brothers is up at Cool Bet right now. Here's what we have. Celebrate and What a Man Gotta Do, co-favorites at plus 275 for the first song. SOS plus 375. Burnin' Up 4-1. I kind of went on, I'll be honest, that was the song that I think I recognized the most. So I figured that might be a good one to get going. Sucker, though, and the Sucker is actually dropped all the way down to plus 275 for the last song. We were doing some Jonas Brothers analytics yesterday. It is their most streamed song on Spotify. But just looking at this right now, do you have a feeling for what they might open with or might potentially close with that we can sprinkle on Cool Bet?
I'm kind of with you on the Burnin' Up plus 4-1. And then the Sucker to end. I mean, Sucker to start as well, plus 575. I think that's a long line for their most popular song by far. I guess bands in the Grey Cup in the past don't usually open with their most popular song. But yeah, Burnin' Up was like released back in 2008, I believe. It was one of their first big hits. Starting with that, throwing it back early, I like that. Yeah.
They've got a lot of hits, and we do now. Remo, what do you think about this? Over under 4.5 songs performed by the Jonas Brothers. I'm taking the over on this. I think that, with the amount of hits, we might not get the entire song, but I certainly could see them bang out a medley of 3 or 4 more of the hits outside of the ones they really focus on.
Yeah, you're seeing this a lot, Huss, where they go and they got to squeeze in all their great songs and one very short halftime. Certainly possible they could go over 4.5. I might have to go back and rewatch Green Day from last year. I think the medley may be more of a pop style band. I think Green Day played full songs, if I recall. But hey, Jonas Brothers, we'll see what it is. I'm kind of curious what we're going to be looking at.
How about Duck Dad? May I say, put a little sprinkle on Cake by the Ocean at 35-1. Vancouver is by the ocean, and that song is an absolute jam. Now, is that a Jonas Brothers song, or is that a single?
I got nothing.
I'll say, the only thing I know about the Jonas Brothers is that South Park episode where they had the purity rings, and that was going back a while ago. So my Jonas Brothers knowledge, pretty limited. Maybe I should have done some research, because I know you were on the analytics looking at Spotify most streamed. I mean, I would not have thought you could use analytics when trying to make a wager on the halftime show, but you played it perfectly, Huss. That's your big brain at work.
Yeah, we've done a deep dive with me and Matt Atesh for the deep dive Jonas Brothers.
Yeah. First, the important props, Jonas Brothers. Who cares about the game?
Yeah.
We're here for the halftime show. Yes.
We'll do the sprinkles on those, those. And you know what, Duck Dad, I think I might actually, put a little small one on that. 35-1 for Cake by the Ocean. And I know that song, so I think it's got to be in the mix. Look at this. We've got some more Bomber fans here coming by.
That's my dad.
Oh, excellent.
Bernie.
That's right.
My crew.
That's right. Right
That's
on.
my crew. Yeah.
As far as the game goes, there is a game. It's not just a Jonas Brothers concert.
Yes.
The Bombers happen to be going for another Grey Cup, 5 in a row. As Connor just mentioned, this is the first line we've seen in about 2 days now. It's gone from 9 to 9.5. What I can't believe is that the total is still 51.
Yeah.
I mean, both of those games that the Winnipeg and Toronto played were such low-scoring games. But certainly they expect a little more fireworks in the championship game than maybe we would have had. But 51 right now, I certainly like the under on this one. Bombers minus 455 and Toronto plus 355. Okay, great. We've got the TD scores. This has just come out in the last little while. So you can go anytime touchdown. We can also go first touchdown score, which we might take a look. But Brady Oliveira, minus 250 to get in the zone. First touchdown score, plus 350. 2 touchdowns or more, plus 215. Can you imagine that? How would that be to finish off an incredible, legendary season and week?
Yeah.
Winning the MOP, winning the most outstanding Canadian, and then multiple touchdowns in the big game. Here for it. Kadeem Carey, minus 125. Cam Dukes, minus 125. And Kenny Lawler, they awoke the beast last year. What a performance he had. Minus 118 to get into the zone. Terry Wilson, short yardage QB, plus 105. Nick Dembski, plus 115. I'll put this to both of you. Who, Remo, if you had to throw nickel on one Bomber to score, who's getting it?
I think Terry Wilson at plus 105 is attractive. The Bombers love the short yardage, but I will pick Nick Dembski. They seem to go to him in big games. I remember him in the Grey Cup that they won, the second one in Hamilton. So I'll go Dembski just because I don't want to pick the Oliveira or Lawler here.
Yeah, I love the Dembski pick. What about you?
I'm taking Lawler. I'm following the fire. I mean, I said on Winnipeg Jets Weekly, I talked about the Bombers. Lawler got the second star. But I was saying he only had 4 catches, but that's because 3 of them, he went to the house. Like, he scored, and he's ending drives, right? 4 catches, 177 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's an absolutely dominant game for a playoff game for a West Final. And I think he'll find his way. Zacharias loves to target him in the red zone as well. So I like Kenny Lawler minus 118.
Folks, I'm going to get to the NFL lines, but let's wrap up marbles. If you haven't already, get them in, and Remo can go and get the track ready. and make this happen because we do have, we're going to get a few things after the show to get you ready for tomorrow. And again, check out the YouTube channel tomorrow. We'll have some additional content coming from the Grey Cup as well. Did you? I guess you probably didn't see the game last night.
No, I was on a flight.
The Jet game first of all, and then the Commanders Eagles.
No,
that one sort of went. Some really, really interesting matchups this weekend in the National Football League. Packers 5.5-point favorites in Chicago against the Bears. What a disaster this Bears season's turning into right now.
Oh my God. You got players quitting mid-play, like DJ Moore. Like, I don't know. That the culture that they built is really not there. And Caleb Williams was supposed to be stepping into the best situation like ever for a rookie with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, all these weapons, DeAndre Swift, good old line, good play caller. None of that has worked out. And they put up 3 points at home against the Pats last week. Like, that's a fireable offense for the OC.
Yeah, and I was just looking at they had Jim Harbaugh mic'd up, and he's sitting there just slurping Justin Herbert. He loves him so much. He's doing this, and I'm like, Caleb Williams has to go play for Matt Eberflus for a year and then blow it up and do this over. While, I mean, I think Chicago would have been a very attractive spot if Harbaugh wanted to go there. But anyways, the Chargers got their guy. He looks great. Miami 7-point favorites against the Raiders. We've got the Rams laying 4.5 on the road against the Patriots. Short week for the Rams, coming off that disappointing loss. They got to travel all the way, an early game. But we dug into the numbers. The West Coast teams traveling and playing early have been awesome so far this year and continue to win at a rate. So don't be spooked. If you like the Rams, you can bet them -4.5. Jameis Winston revenge game. Cleveland at the Saints.
Lock in.
This is basically a pick 'em right now. Cleveland -111 and the Saints -105. The Jets laying 4, which is hilarious. They should be laying 4 to anybody. The Colts. How about this one, though? Ravens-Steelers. To me, this might be the best rivalry, certainly over the last 15 years in the National Football League. It's mean. It is nasty. These teams hate each other. And another opportunity for Mike Tomlin to amaze people with what he's done with this Steelers team that, I mean, we got plus money to have a winning record. Big time plus money to make the playoffs. They're the version of taking over. They can win this football game. They'll have a chokehold on the AFC North.
On first, yeah. It's and the decision to go from Justin Fields to Russell Wilson, even though I think at the time they were 5-1 or 4-1, has paid dividends because Russell Wilson has looked great in this offense. They're running the ball a lot. Their defense is amazing. But all the credit goes to Mike Tomlin. He just pumps out winning seasons. And, yeah, if they win this game on Sunday, they'll have a good chance to win the division.
3.5-point home dogs are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Remo, where are you at on this Baltimore-Pittsburgh game?
I really like how Russell Wilson has come in and he's thrown the ball deep. George Pickens, all of a sudden, fantasy relevant. Najee Harris had the rushing touchdowns. This Baltimore Ravens defense, not great. They can give up a lot of yards. We saw that in the shootout with Cincinnati multiple times. You saw it last week as well. So, I don't know. The Steelers have a great defense. Baltimore has shown they can lay some eggs. Thank you, Baltimore, for eliminating me in my survivor pool when they lost to the Raiders. So
we don't forget that.
People don't forget. So I can kind of see the Steelers coming around, and they have some more competent quarterback play. Justin Fields, he was solid, but I think Russ is opening some eyes with this great defense. And the weapons that, again, like you couldn't play anyone on the Steelers early in the year in fantasy. Not relevant, but Russ has come in, and I think he's done a pretty good job.
Connor, Denver's 2-point favorites at home against Atlanta. I kind of think they bounced back after nearly getting that win in Arrowhead last week. And your Niners back 6.5-point favorites. Big game against the Seahawks. Huge because of how packed that division is right now.
Yeah, huge game. And I think the Niners, touchdown favorite makes sense. I mean, their kicker missed 3 field goals inside the 48-yard line last week, and they still somehow beat the Bucs, who played well in the game. So the Niners have owned the Seahawks. Brock Purdy's never lost to them. They're 6-0 in their last 6 meetings against the Hawks, and they're at home, and it's for a big divisional race. I love the Niners, and maybe not by the spread, but to win.
CMC time on the weekend, and of course, the main event for the National Football League slate: Chiefs at Bills. Patrick Mahomes as an underdog.
This is it.
12-1-1 against the spread. 11-2 straight up. I love the Chiefs in this spot, and I think.
Oh, really?
I love the Chiefs in this spot.
Wait. No way.
I'm sure you guys are stunned. But if you recall, going into last week, I said that Denver game was really giving me the heebie-jeebies. It reminded me of last year. The last time the Kansas City Chiefs lost was Christmas Day against the Vegas Raiders. A divisional game where the other team's really going to get up for you. There's the potential. You look ahead. And the Chiefs are pretty professional with the way they go about it. But the fact that they had to bail themselves out with that punt block, I kind of think it's going to prepare them even more. And listen, the Bills are not healthy. I'm not sure that they certainly don't have the offensive weapons that they had last year, although they got the weapon in Josh Allen. But as I say, you give me Patrick Mahomes as an underdog, I'll happily take it and lay it right now. Plus 106 on the money line. And 2-point dogs are the Chiefs. Great Sunday nighter. We'll check that out after the Grey Cup. Bengals and Chargers. Chargers, 1.5-point faves as of right now. Now, let's get over to the exclusives. We put this together. We've got the DGen Den parlay. So I think what we've got is coming up in our, the Lock Shop House Callers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jonathan Taylor, and Kareem Hunt. Boosted to plus 644. We've got our spread parlay. We like the Packers minus 5.5, the Rams minus 4.5, and the Steelers plus 3.5. Then we also did a money line parlay. Browns to win, Broncos to win, Bengals to win. Boosted up to plus 679. Those are in the combo cards right up there. Now, the one other thing I need to ask you guys tonight: Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, Cowboys Stadium. Remis, your thoughts on this fight right now? Jake Paul minus 200 favorite, Mike Tyson plus 165, and a draw plus 950.
I hate to say this. I've watched a lot of Jake Paul's fights, Huss. I tune in to all of them.
Wow.
When he fights these tomato cans that he knows he can beat, and I don't know. Mike Tyson, he's almost 60 years old. He wasn't that great in his last couple fights years ago. I think stamina, a concern. Jake Paul, very fit. People hate him, but he knows actually how to box. I feel like minus 200 is a bit low, and when you hear Mike Tyson, people are thinking of Mike Tyson from 35 years ago, and he's not that. So Jake Paul should win. I guess I saw someone on X saying bet draw. Was it Pat saying go for a draw?
I think that was me on the show. I'm just
saying because it's fixed, and that's what it's going to be.
It's the one way that Mike Tyson doesn't lose. Jake Paul goes the distance with Mike Tyson.
He doesn't lose Jake Paul. He only schedules fights that he can win against people who don't know how to box.
Well, Floyd Mayweather's lone blemish on his career is a draw against Logan Paul. So we've seen this before. Anyways, I'm going to put 10 or something on a draw tonight. I would not be surprised if that is the way that things turn out. Do you have any thoughts on this fight?
I 100% agree with Remis. I think Jake Paul only takes fights that he knows he can win. Mike Tyson's 58 years old, and that's enough. I think the minus 200 line's a little short.
How great would it be if just Mike Tyson,
one punch, boom, done.
Jake Paul?
I mean, could he? Someone asked me what I thought. I was like, I think Jake Paul is going to win if there is a winner, but could Mike Tyson get one shot in and knock him out? I guess it is Mike Tyson, but he's putting out training videos. We'll see what happens when he gets in the ring. again, stamina, a concern. He's 58 years old.
All right. Well,
and here
Netflix
we are.
tonight, and we're talking about it. And
We're talking about it.
Delaying the marble race today because we're doing in-depth.
Hey, we're in
into
Vancouver, all right?
thing.
It's only 1 o'clock here.
Remo, let's do the marbles, folks. Check out coolbet.com for the fight, the Grey Cup, NFL, and more. And again, shout out to everyone that rode with me. Brady Oliveira, 14-1 MOP, cashed those tickets. And now we got to get on our mid-season bomber bets back when the team was up at plus 650 or 7-1. Do we have the theme?
I think so.
All right, let's do it. Marbles time, live from the Grey Cup on WST. All right, only one thing left to do, and that is get it on, marble style, from the road. Remo, if you could please add me in all caps to the list.
Sure.
And I think considering last night, we need to give the most outstanding Canadian and most outstanding player in the league, Brady Oliveira, a marble. And I think we should give Adam Bighill a marble as well.
Yes.
After he won the Tom Pate Award. I actually just saw the adorable Team Bighill roll through here. His lovely wife Christina and a couple of their youngsters, and I think they are now in the midst of the chaos behind us. The most expansive, and as I said, calling it a bouncy castle does not do it. It does a disservice. This is a bouncy world, if you will. I mean, there's a good 140 meters of track of this thing behind, and I'm sure those kids are having going to be having an absolute blast. Where are we going today, Reem?
I haven't even checked, so if you want to do like a classic one.
Yeah. I mean, I think a classic one would be. We often do the Temple of Steve.
Yeah, some people
I still like the funnel.
Some people don't like Temple.
What about
Steve.
Slippery Slopes?
That's always a classic.
Slippery Slopes is one of the best. Oh, is that? Oh my God, that's one of the Bollywood boys.
Oh, really? Well, I see the commissioners here too.
Right there.
Oh, the hat?
I'm a huge Bollywood boys guy. Remember when they were running in the WWE with Jinder Mahal? When Jinder had the title?
Vaguely.
Okay, I'm fanboying here right now.
I saw Coach Chippy walking around.
Oh,
you know Coach Chippy, the guy that always makes fun of the Leafs locker room, like what it's like after games? Yeah, I saw him walking around. A lot of people here.
Nicely done. Well,
I saw Wade Miller just like walking around. Just chilling.
Boots on the ground. Boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Everyone else, the team, taking care of business. Brady getting back to right after winning the awards. Got to get back to curfew for the first time that the team's had. They seem all business, and I can't wait to get out to practice tomorrow to get a little bit from you here, to get a little bit more from the team, as well as we're going to have Dave Naylor and a conversation with Trey Ford as well. So keep an eye on that a little bit later on. All right, Remo.
We're all ready. I do Matt Hyman, he wants us to give a marble. Shout out to Maya Turner, making football history.
Yes.
First women named Canada West Football All-Star kicker for the Bombers, doing an amazing job.
She had an unreal season.
She did.
Unreal season. And listen, at the start, it was like, oh, it's great. There's a girl playing. And, she earned her spot on the team and was not there for any other reason other than she was putting it through the uprights and helping the Manitoba Bisons win 7 football games this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, unfortunately, the end of the season was not great for the team, but an amazing, amazing year for Maya Turner. So great suggestion, Matt Hyman. Maya, you're in the marble race. Getting it going up right now. So just while Remis gets this up, what are you most looking forward to, other than the game, obviously, and hopefully a big celebration with the Bombers after they win?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if they win, I mean, the celebration is what I'm most looking forward to. But I've been to BC Place once for a Lions game. Like, I was in Vancouver 2 years ago. Gorgeous stadium. I can't wait to be back there in the seats, taking in the game, taking in the Grey Cup, the halftime, that whole experience. But I don't know, just this whole weekend. Like this, I just got here last night, so this is all new to me, this whole building here. I checked out the other side last night with the the team parties.
Yes.
And all that, which I'm sure will be hit this weekend. And then also Jets game tomorrow night, watch party. Hopefully watching that game together as they take on the Panthers should be a great one. And yeah, just seeing everyone. Like this is such an insane atmosphere. All these kids here today on this bouncy castle. But yeah, this is awesome. Taking in the whole weekend, and beautiful day in Vancouver as well. Like I know I checked the weather all week. It's been raining and cloudy, but it's actually sunny and like 8 degrees today. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely perfect. And I was one of the. I was kind of looking at 30 millimeters this day, 45 millimeters. I'm like, great, we're gonna be just getting rained on the whole time. The media package, when we went and picked up our credentials, they got like a little Grey Cup Festival hat, some Grey Cup socks, and an umbrella.
Oh yeah.
So they figured they would probably come in handy for folks. The good thing is, we haven't had to use them so far. We're just doing a little update here.
Yeah, I don't use this computer at 10, so we had to do a quick update of the marbles.
All right,
We've got
folks.
decent internet here, so it's not going to be very long.
Nice. How many marbles are in the race today, by the way?
Total, after I added them, 239.
Nice.
So
we'll fire that up right now. As I mentioned, we're going to be getting together with Dave Naylor a little later on. We'll have that on an episode of a little special Grey Cup episode with some bonus content tomorrow. Also, an interview with Trey Ford. And then we're going to head over to Bomber practice and try and hobnob with some of the fellas before one more sleep and then the big day.
someone was asking in chat, Connor, if you're going to be up at 7 a.m. Pacific time on Grey Cup Sunday for Sunday Live. And I was like, we haven't really discussed that.
We haven't. I was thinking, and I was texting Liz and Jacob, I think I might do it from 9 Vancouver time. And you people back home in Winnipeg, 11 o'clock.
Very reasonable.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's reasonable.
Mean, the Saturday before Grey Cup, I don't know if I want to wake up at 7 or 6:30 in the morning the next day. So
you don't.
You can't
I
get
do not.
time zoned on Grey Cup weekend.
No, exactly.
It's a 9 a.m. show, but listen, the host is it's 9 a.m. where the host is. How about that? So, we will have it there, though. I'm sure the gang will have their thoughts on the big game. And, of course, tomorrow's tilt with the Florida Panthers. And, listen, if you are in Van, listen, we're going to be definitely at the Bomber House, probably both nights. So that is a must-go-to for Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans over on the West Convention Center where all the team parties at. We'll see you there. But if you are looking to watch Jets-Panthers tomorrow, we'll be bringing a big crew, I think, over to the Red Card Sports Bar. It's on Smythe Street. That's where we watched the game last night. I basically lived at that bar the last time we were at the Grey Cup because it was a similar thing. The Jets were playing a bunch of these early games. So it'll be perfect. 4 o'clock game, get into it a little bit, and then, get out and make the most of Saturday night in Vancouver for the Grey Cup. All right, I think we're just about good to go.
Okay, we got it. I think Jay Miller is asking, is the Grey Cup a must-win or can't lose for the Bombers? Both?
Must win. It's must win.
I'd say can't lose.
No, I think it's a must. Yeah, I think must win.
No, it can't lose because if they lose 3 straight, right?
Let's do a poll.
But I think
can't lose 3 straight.
But I think you have to win because by winning you're not losing.
Well, by not losing you're also winning. So.
All right. Are we doing slippery slopes here?
Sure.
Sure, I'll do that one. We can.
Will, is this a measuring stick game for the Bombers?
A litmus test.
Litmus test.
The old litmus test.
Here, I'll load it up here.
All right. Usually we do slippery slopes in winter, but winter is just taking so long to show up that we're going to rock this one coming up today. An all-time favorite, slippery slopes. One of the best ones. So we've got 239 racers. We are adding the names in. This is actually great getting a chance to see the magic happen behind the scenes.
Yeah, we didn't give a marble for Ted Wyman, but everyone wants to give him a shout out. We're certainly thinking of him.
Listen, the entire week is dedicated to Ted. And we've got the the stickers. You see them around. I think I just saw the commissioner with one of those on. And listen, whether it's at the FRC suite, the media party, just on the row here, Ted is greatly missed. All right, gang, Grey Cup edition of the marble race, 239 in the hopper. Let's go blue. Marble race time on WST. Okay, Ken B with a nice start. Leanne M looking pretty good as well. Sean Gagney in the mix. Megan Wiley right there. Retino X 57. Oh, Coops just got thrown over the top rope. There's always a few top ropes when we get into the ski portion of this one. This is definitely one of my favorites. Who do we got? BCMB, Bobby B, Marshall Caron right there. There's Shane Mason, Ray and Onebird. Jen Cool from the Lock Shop. What's up, Jen? I don't think we still haven't had an EST or win. Although there's been many that have been coming by.
They put out the call for all of them to hop in at 2:45.
Excellent. Bobby B, BMCB. Bobby got stuck there a little bit. BMCB really taking advantage of a nice transition through there.
Oh.
What happened? Where are the marbles?
Someone wanted me to move Hustler so they can see the dead marbles, but too late. I messed up there.
Oh, okay. No worries. I mean, you could even just take us off the screen, to be perfectly honest with you, if you need.
It's
Greg Friesen and BMCB. Greg is a former winner. Why does Greg have that thing on top of him? Does that just mean it's the leader? That thing.
I don't know what that is. I have no idea. Maybe he's the record. Maybe he's the record holder. He's the record holder. That's why.
Oh yeah.
Top right, you can see it says Greg Friesen.
Wow.
So I guess it knows.
And he's in first place.
He is in first place. I don't know if he gets a boost from that.
We've never seen that before. Anyways, Marshall was having a great run. But it didn't happen. Shane Mason also out. John Pauls, Andrew Haleko. Bobby B looking pretty good. Oh, T. Will, after that nice super chat, you got whacked.
Oh.
Okay, now everything's jumbling up. This is where we have a lot of eliminations. But who do we have here? We've got Greg Friesen. We've got Bobby B. And Greg is just cruising. Reem.
Yeah, sorry. David, never mind.
You know what? That might be the record.
It is. It's not like entered, but it's the
record.
I see.
Yeah.
It's showing what the record is. So Bobby is in first place. I got you.
When you watch like Olympic swimming and they have the world record line going, like that. That's
the technology of the marble race is really, really going
Bobby
up.
B.
Look at Bobby. Is it gonna be? Is it gonna be? No!
What?
Oh, Bobby missed. And Stacy S. Tragedy for Bobby B. We have had some incredible finishes. Like that's what, 2 weeks in a row? There was the Eric Jorlifson brick in the basketball one. Oh my God. Bobby, you were right there. You were right there. And for all people, one of our favorites, Bobby B. That was cruel. That was cruel. and unusual punishment. All right, we're throwing them into the hoop. We'll see who finishes. You can take care of all of your side bets. If any of you have, there's Joey Panks. Corey H makes it through. Oh, there's Schickster, Paul Carr, there's Poopy Pants, Theo Seegers as well. All right, Stacy S83. Congratulations, Stacy. Send us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. We'll be back next week, and let us know what size hoodie you are as well. All right, your top 10, Keith Turd Ferguson, comment. Sean Lishka, wow, the Gitch, after a first place last week, made it happen. Natalie from Winnipeg is in there in the top 15. Kent Reimer, Donnie Boy. What's up, Donnie? I Heart Game. Oh, there's Bozeman at 29th. Nice one, Sean. Nice one. You got it this week. Mary Jane, Dallas. Hustler, 49th. Still pretty good. And I finished. There's a lot of people that didn't finish. Chuckster, Adam Bighill. Adam Bighill in at 63. Jerry Beluda, Krugs. Who else? Mike Lay, Counting to the Stars. Mr. V-Dub, Schickster, and Theo Seegers, the final one. And then we can just run down. This is everyone that was on the wrong end of the slippery slopes. That's going to do it for us today, gang. Again, if you want more Grey Cup content, check the channel tomorrow a little later on, because we're going to head down to Bomber practice. We're going to have Dave Naylor, a conversation with Trey Ford, and more. And then, of course, Monday, hopefully it is a big victory lap for the Bombers and the city of Winnipeg and Bomber fans. We will do it one more time from Vancouver on Monday before getting back. And again, Tuesday, the next WST game of the month. Panthers, the only game for the rest of this month. WinnipegJets.com/WST. Grab any available tickets that are remaining and join us for what should be an awesome, awesome night. Connor, get ready to Grey Cup, my friend.
Oh, I'm ready. This has already been such a fun day, just day one, and I'm so excited for the game, and go Blue.
It is go time. If you're in Vancouver, hopefully we'll see you at Bomber House tomorrow. We'll do the game at the Red Card at 4 p.m. And otherwise, have an awesome Grey Cup weekend, everybody. Wherever you are watching and celebrating, have a fun, safe weekend, and go Bombers. See you soon.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.